Welcome to the Knowledge Entrepreneurs Show, where we celebrate the innovators driving change in the education industry. At Edison OS, we've worked with over 500 knowledge entrepreneurs to turn their edtech ideas into profitable businesses. Hey Adarsh, good morning and welcome to the Knowledge Entrepreneurs Show. I'd like to, once again thank you for accepting to be a part of this show and
Hey,
taking your
good
valuable
morning,
time
and
out for
thank you
this.
very much for having me here. Great initiative, what you're up to. Would love to see how the next 2 hours go for me. I hope I'll be able to add some value into your efforts.
Thank you, Adarsh. Yeah, I'm pretty confident of that. Let's see. Cool. So my first question usually is pretty much, this is how it starts off because it's a simple open-ended question, a little bit personal, because just to establish
Sure,
the
yeah.
connect with the listeners out there. So Adarsh, if you can walk us through your growing up, your childhood, and then your journey up till now. What was it like to be here today, sitting, having founded Gaming Geeks just
I
a couple
think
of months back?
I think my my childhood was no different to anyone and everyone who were born in the late 1980s, so to say. While growing up, I
Right.
was a hardcore sports enthusiast, so to say, right? So there has been no sport that I have not followed, I think, in my existence. I started at a very early age of,
Okay.
when I was
Okay.
probably 5, 6 year old, if I recollect right. And the first glimpse of sport was 1996, watching India beat Pakistan at the Chinnaswamy Stadium, and of the Ajay Jadeja innings basically, and the Venkatesh
Right.
Prasad's wicket,
Right.
which was a highlight of my
Right.
of my life, so to say. Today sitting here and talking about it, right? So while I was very keenly following sport, and I did play sport during my school days and college days. I've always had an inclination towards sport. Obviously, everyone's dream is to play for India, and obviously cricket, which was massive. But
Yeah.
multiple reasons, and one of the reasons which I don't mind admitting is probably I was not as good as I should have been to take up sport as a career. Plus, obviously, you're middle class and upper
Right.
middle class family growing up, and you know how it is, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
education is more important, and back then you had to
Yeah.
choose between education and sports as a career. And coming from a family background,
Yeah.
my father happens to be a doctor, my mother happens to be a lawyer, and I had no hope of not getting into college, basically, right? So eventually took the easy route, so
Yeah.
to say, which was engineering. But I took the toughest subject in engineering, which happens to be electronics and communications. So I
Okay.
did my engineering from Bangalore.
Right.
So RNSIT is the college that I went to. And like I said, the influence of sport never
Right.
faded away. So I always kept, I think, one
Hmm.
leg of mine was always in the sports domain, so to say, because I played the cricket at certain levels,
Hmm.
and because of some few connections and few of my friends who were actively being part of the cricketing circles in the in the Indian ecosystem. I always had
Hmm.
I mean, there was always someone to open up a door if I wanted to come back to sport. And I started basically
Right.
doing a little bit of a freelance work, and during my time in engineering as well. When IPL kicked off, doing very small things, but
Hmm.
mostly the logistics bit, the operations bit, and how do you run the entire show, which was a great learning, right? So, and
Hmm.
back then we didn't
Hmm.
know that IPL would be such a big scale event. It mostly looked like Ranji matches happening with
Right.
the colored clothes, so to say. That was the whole idea when how we went in. But yeah, some exposure
Right.
to sport was always there, and definitely what it kind of
Right.
made me understand is I would be a horrible engineer, right? Because sport was the passion, and it has to be sport. And that's when post my
Okay.
engineering. I had really not taken up any kind of opportunities, or even look for any opportunities in the tech side of things. And I just got into sports
Right.
marketing. There were two ways to go about it. One, I could have probably
Okay.
gone ahead and done an MBA in sports marketing, or that's one career. I mean, that's one way of you getting into the sports ecosystem. But I think I took the very crude way of doing it,
Right.
which I think adds a lot of
Hmm.
value compared to what your textbooks and your classroom sessions would do, which is basically learning hands-on,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So when I got done with my
Right.
engineering in 2009, and by 2010 I was already interning with the Champions Trophy, the cricket version of Champions Trophy, which was there back then, right? So, which is the top teams of IPL and
Hmm.
your Caribbean Premier League and your Big Bash, they all come and play the Champions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah,
Champions
that's right.
League.
So I
Champions League.
got a
Yeah.
break
Hmm.
there where I was managing the entire operations for Chainsaw Estate.
Hmm.
In the sense, it was a little bit of a upgrade to my role, what I was doing previously with IPL. And that kind of gave a conviction
Right.
that there is
Right.
something is there for me in sport. And because of a few connections, I got introduced to
Right.
a few IPL teams to begin with. And I did have a little bit of a stint with RCB for a year and RR for a year. And post those stints in 2013 is when I wanted to start something on my own, and came back to Bangalore,
Hmm.
took a month or two, and then we started a company called Spoment. So it was me and basically a partner of mine, Ashok. We are both of them. I think Ashok is a stalwart in the Indian sports ecosystem. He was there probably a decade
Hmm.
plus back then. So good exposure. We started Spoment. Spoment was mostly like a sports marketing agency where we used to represent few athletes and
Right.
consult with few brands for sponsorships around IPL, and a little bit of
Got it.
hospitality ticketing and all of those things. Um, so we were going
Right.
strong till 2016, and I think 2016 is when the whole era of this consumer business kicked in, basically, right? So, and we definitely wanted to do something on the consumer side of things in sport again. So that is when
Right.
we started
Right.
a company called Sporty Trip. So Sporty Trip is basically a fan experience, a sports fan experiences company. So what we do is there are two types of how you experience as a fan, right? The multiple avenues of you how you consume sport. One is you go and watch the
Right.
match in the
Right.
stadium, right? So that's ticketing and hospitality.
Right.
Second is you need to get access to some behind the scenes
Right.
content. You would like to see something that the general public doesn't see, right? So that is one. Merchandise as a
Yeah.
business is
Yeah.
another one that we all buy our favorite teams merchandise. Then what else? On the content side of things, right? So how can I make the content that's already available, or can I create something new, basically, right? So that's another approach. And the third and the last approach that we were after was education, upskilling, so to say, right? So we were, I mean, there are
Hmm.
millions and millions of cricketers, millions of sports enthusiasts across different sports who
Right. Right.
are
Right.
who need guidance, right? So you need a professional setup,
Right.
you need infrastructure, then you need the quality coaches, and then there should be an inclination from the
Right.
athletes to go and learn and then make it big, basically, right?
Right.
It's a long drawn out process, which to a certain extent Indian
Right.
ecosystem has done reasonably well for some games. Things were really different, probably
Okay.
in the early 2000s and even late 2000s, so to say. But at least the likes of cricket and football and
Right.
badminton and athletics, there is reasonably good infrastructure now because the government playing an active role, and the Khelo India programs, the Sports Authority of India have invested a lot of time, energy, and intelligence in getting this up to speed. Uh, so Sport Drive was basically
Right.
meant to address all these kind of challenges for a sports fan. But in our journey,
Got it.
I think we went after only sports experiences, so to say, which is basically
Okay. Okay.
we held the marketing rights for the marketing and ticketing rights for the leading marquee sporting events like say your World Cups, your Wimbledons, your Formula One races, and your Premier League clubs happening around, for the India market. So whoever wants to go and watch have to go through us. It's like a combination of a book my show and make my trip for sport. And but we're not just a ticketing company, but we
Got
were
it.
an experiences company. So people, at all levels. So if
Okay.
you just want a ticket, you could just pick up a ticket. But if you want to experience something, so we would probably give you, say, if I take Formula One as an example, which the modern day listeners would love to know. If you buy a package from us, so apart from watching the race, you also get access to the pit lane, basically, right? So you could walk to the garages, go interact with the drivers,
Hmm.
go interact with the
Right.
engineers of the
Right.
cars, and they'll tell you about how complicated a Formula One sport is and how data driven this is, and those kind of insights as a sports fan you would love to know. Otherwise, the only thing is, the car will zoom past you in two
Right.
seconds and you're
Right.
gone. You need to wait for the next 1.5 minutes for the cars to come back. But you need to
Yeah.
understand what a sport is, basically, to even, to stick on to it for a longer period of time. And this is how we stood out in
Right.
the market, because
Right.
there were a lot of guys in the ticketing space, so to say, like your Book My Show and Paytm and all. But their ambition was to fill up the inventory. How can I fill up 40,000 tickets, no seats in the stadium? That is what their primary focus was.
Right.
But we went after quality. Though we won't do 40,000, probably
Right.
we would do only 400 or 1,000. But still, our experiences were a notch above this. People who are obviously that comes at a cost, and it's not as cheap as just a ticket.
Right.
But eventually, people, there is a market, and that's how we were able to enhance a fan experience. Because just to give an example, right, this is probably in the next month, this month end, next month end, we're going to have the 16th edition of IPL, if I'm not wrong. Correct. Yeah. What
Yeah.
will excite me to
Yes.
go
Yes.
and
Yes.
watch, stand in the long queues, and go through the hassle of getting into the stadium? I'll get bored if I'm not offered something new. And this is where Sport Trip
Right.
came into existence in 2016. While we were going
Got it.
great guns, and
Got it.
we had obviously, we were a profitable company. We raised some really, angel money to begin with. Never went after any kind of significant monies, so to say, because we were being profitable. And until the pandemic hit. So pandemic hit, and obviously no sport,
Right.
so no business, right? So while
Right.
we
Right.
wanted
Right.
to reinvent the wheel, so to say, right? What else can we do? I mean, pretty much 2 years of. I mean, we didn't know for how long this break could potentially come in, and
Correct. Yeah.
especially say
Yeah.
March, April, May of 2020 was horrible because lockdown, nothing happening in
It
sport,
was.
and to
Yeah.
an extent that sports buff like me watching highlights of the games that have happened because there's no live content, right? So it is quite frustrating, and that's when
Right.
um, I got into esports. Right. So why esports? Okay, we all played video games in our lives. I know that was again one of the passions that I had, but never took it seriously because we are always inclined towards the traditional game, which is cricket and football and basketball, athletics. And like I said, pretty much followed the entire game, right? So I mean,
Right.
all the sports that are there, basically, is what I meant. So when pandemic hit, someone just reintroduced me to esports. A bunch of friends, because esports was
Hmm.
going guns, and
Right.
if you obviously you've heard of games like PUBG and Valorant and Call of Duty and all of that. So I had to
Yeah.
download all of these games after, I don't know, probably more than a decade plus, right? Since the last I played a video game, just to see
Okay.
how the landscape has changed. While I got
Right.
introduced to esports again, it was completely different. It was a different ball game altogether to what we used to consume video games before, right?
Okay.
Or play rather. More competitive. There is a proper structure. There are organizations for running this on a full-time basis. It's just like how BCCI runs cricket or FIFA runs football, right? That's when we understood.
Right.
And this is an actual stat. More than 40% of the world's population, right, play some form of esports, basically. Uh, so this also includes casual
Right.
gaming, like Candy Crush equivalent on Angry Birds, and competitive gaming like Call of Duty and Valorant, PUBG. Then you have your real
Right.
money gaming and fantasy and betting and all of that. So collectively, about 3.4 or 3.5 billion people in the world are in some form are playing esport, basically, are in this gaming ecosystem, so to say, right? About 40%.
50%
Yeah,
of the
exactly. Right.
Earth's
Yeah. And
population,
it's
literally.
growing significantly, basically. It was not so much probably in 2019. Now it's about 3.4, 3.5. Exactly.
The
Yeah, yeah.
pandemic
Right.
probably accelerated that.
So mixing a little bit of experience and ambitions in Sporty Trek, one of the verticals that we spoke about was upskilling, right? So how do we, make
Yeah.
learning process more viable and much better for the athletes? That was one of the ideas that we had. But beyond a point, while we did
Right.
a lot of exercise in Sporty Trip to do this for traditional gaming, we weren't able to do justice because most of these games have to be taught physically. You can't do it online at scale. It's very difficult to do, and one
Hmm.
is capital heavy, right? So you need to get facilities, you need to build, not stadiums, so to say, some facilities where you have some decent quality infrastructure, right? Like your nets, if I'm just talking about cricket, right? So,
Okay.
gone are the days where people want to train on the mats. You need to have the turf,
Yeah,
basically,
yeah,
right? So, how do you make the pitch? It's very, very
yeah.
capital heavy. And that was one of the reasons why probably we didn't go ahead in sport at the time. But that was very, very easy to replicate in esports. And to be honest with you,
Right.
just to give you, and now esports is no different to traditional sport in terms of, I spoke to you about the structure and career options and prize monies. And, probably today esports has more prize money than traditional sport put together. All of them put together, basically, right? So that's how big it is.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
so, I mean, just to give you some rough numbers, there could be about 70, 80 million active cricketers in the world who are wanting to play cricket. When I say wanting to play, I'm not talking about the guys aspirational. I'm not talking about the guys
Aspiration.
who are, playing in the gullies. I'm not talking about them, basically. And there are about at least, about 10,
Oh,
15. These
okay.
are the guys who have actually enrolled themselves in some camps or exactly some sort,
Into
either in
coaching, some
school or
sort of.
colleges
Okay. You're
across the
talking
world.
70,
Yes,
80
that's right.
million.
Yeah.
70.
And there are at least about
Wow.
10 to 15,000 plus recognized coaching centers. This also includes all kind of coaching, right? So your division level coaching, your KSCA, your BCCI approved clubs, down the hierarchy, or school coaching, or like a famous
Right.
cricketer, like say, I'm just giving a random example, Virender Sehwag Sports Academy, right? So cricket academy. I'm just giving a random example.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
these kind of things, there are at least about 15,000 plus
Got it.
across the world. Okay. And for football, it is
Wow.
multiplied
Okay.
into 10 times. There are about 800 to 900 million active footballers.
Oh
Yeah,
my God. I was going to ask you because, there's always this thing going about, football is way popular in terms of numbers and everything. I was just a little curious to see where cricket was compared to
yeah. I mean,
football.
no
Thank you for that
comparison, right?
information. Yeah.
There's a reason why it's called the global sport.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah. It's
So,
one
I mean,
tenth.
just diversifying a little bit here,
Yeah.
diverting, sorry, is what I meant. So, the funny thing is, football they consider to be a global sport, but one third of the population, which is India and China,
Right.
they don't play football at the World Cup stage. So
Yeah,
they're not a
exactly.
global sport anymore. But anyway, the number speaks about them being probably the highest.
Yeah.
They've done tremendously well to kind of gain the popularity that they've gained over a period of time. So it's coming back
Yeah.
to that. So
Yeah.
about 800 900 million active footballers, and there are at least about 100,000 plus, if not more. Football camps, coaching boot camp
Got it.
centers, etc. All of that. And a funny
Got
equation
it.
is we spoke about the numbers of esports, right? How many
Hmm.
aspiring esports enthusiasts are there,
Hmm.
etc., etc. There are hardly about.
Huh.
I'm just. I don't want to sound ridiculous, and I'm saying there are probably about 100 plus academies where you can potentially go and learn and upskill yourself. There is a significant gap, right?
Okay.
That's what Gaming Geeks is. Nothing.
It's literally nothing
Absolutely
compared to
nothing.
whatever numbers you
Absolutely nothing.
said to cricket or football, right? But what about the aspirants
I'm talking
in the
about all of them. So that's at about
sport
1.2,
world?
1.3 billion, basically. Because
Wow.
see, I think
Okay.
esports as a game, as a
Okay.
sport, right? You're not restricted by any of your physical abilities. Okay, exactly.
Physical abilities,
Which
right?
is
Right.
probably the case in traditional sport. Certain sports you can't play if you don't
Right.
have a physical advantage. Uh, uh, you'll not be great. Basically, few
Right.
people will come
Correct.
against all odds and
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in reality, we only talk about one successful outcome. But the failures are much more. Basically, right?
Yeah.
But esports is not like that.
Right.
Irrespective of your age, gender, your physical abilities, you're pretty much on the level playing field. And then it still comes across, how good is your
Right.
instincts, how good is your, reflection points, and all of that are there. But that's still fine. That's still logically at a even playing field compared to if you're traditional teams. For example, if I'm obese, I can't play football beyond a point. I can't run. There are other forms, but
Yeah.
nothing is stopping you from playing e-sport, and that's why the numbers are so big, and that's why the number of aspirants are so much. So,
Got it. Yeah.
and hardly anything in the world that is people are. There's no structure. Like, can you imagine? Like, I can talk about more in terms of just to give you an example, right? So the Wimbledon, the prize money for Wimbledon last year was about £2 million, so to say. the prize money for Call of Duty Mobile or Call of Duty rather was 2.5 million. So, you know, but you look at the infrastructure. If I want to
Wow.
represent, if I want to take part in the Wimbledon, there are so many opportunities for me to go and learn tennis. I mean, that's potential career path that people are after. But in
Right.
esports, nothing's happening. Who's coaching? And the reason why we
Right.
keep hearing people, especially the parents complain that, I can't get my kid off the, laptop or the mobile is always on the phone, playing games, etc., etc. The reason why they're doing it is what they don't understand today, which I hope that's the biggest challenge that we are facing in Gaming Geeks is, um, they are spending more time because they don't know how to get better. They're not being advised on how to play. They're just randomly trying to play the way they only know, which could be right or wrong. Most of the times wrong, you know, and they're wasting so much time there. The moment
Yeah.
your efforts and time are
Mm.
channelized in the right direction, that will come down. It's like saying internet, right? So internet we could have probably used for all good and bad things also. Now today's world, people are misusing the internet, but
Right.
today's world runs without, runs with the internet basically. Without internet, can you imagine having this call? Right? It's impossible. Yeah. So there are
Yeah. Yeah.
ways and there
Yeah.
are better outcomes of you being an esports enthusiast. Okay. I'm not talking about career path, etc., etc. Just by playing. So so I'll tell you what some of the key things that esports teaches, especially a kid who's probably 12, 13 year old is when pretty much the age that, they pick up some game, so to say. Right? It talks, it
Right.
tells, it tells, it kind of teaches you how you can be a team player. How do you come out against difficult situations, right? So it's a virtual world. You will never
Right.
get into that kind of
Right.
situations in your everyday life. Okay, it'll never happen. We are privileged in that way.
Right.
But there are times where few people have
Right.
gotten in and they've been messed up. And we talk about mental health, which is a very, very important thing today, right? So because you're cornered in some form of the other, you
Right.
kind of take the stress off. Just be stressful about what is happening. How do you come out of it? Nervous breakdowns. A lot of things we are seeing, the
Right.
problems. So technically, if you are
Right.
educated in the right way, esports will actually teach you how to deal with all of these things. It's a skill game, so to say.
Okay.
It will actually put you, so situations that we were talking about, say for example, the battle royale games are one of the most popular games, basically, right? Where a team of four people will play against another team of four, or in a match you'll have about 100 players and you'll be playing amongst them, and whoever survives till the end, will be the winner. They come across a lot of what do you call strategic slash some key things during their gameplay where they need to think on their feet to get out of those situations. Like, for example, if your teammate is hurt, how do you go
Right.
help him out? How do you manage those kind of situations, basically, right? So when you have a disadvantage, how do you get out of that situation? So these are some of the things that you can actually implement in everyday's life for the kid. There's actually a lot of learning, and
Got it.
come to think of it, right? So
Got it.
once you're good at esports, for example, you will spend far less time on your mobile and your laptop. Why would you, when you know that you're the master, you know that this can happen? What will you will stop doing it? And we are here to educate people in esports. Esports is going to stay. Esports is the future. Probably in the next 5 to 6 years, esports will be bigger than cricket and Bollywood in India put together. Okay, this is the trend that we are seeing in terms of. So
Wow.
esports not going to go anywhere, basically, right?
Okay.
So and India won a bronze medal in the Commonwealth Games, and it's recognized by the Olympics and Asian Games as well. So cricket is not there. Okay, so an Indian government, recently, I think this was in December, where they recognized esports as I think this was this year in January. They recognized esports as a traditional sport, like a mainstream sport, like how all the other sports are, like cricket, football, athletics, badminton, etc. So this is a time and era where most of the people are getting into are already on esports, and there's a clear lack of guidance, and that's where Gaming Geeks come into play, and we are here to solve that problem.
Right.
So
Wow. The first 20-25 minutes were like boom for me because all the questions that I had for you, like some, basics, I was like checking out Gaming Geeks and I was wondering, what is this? I mean, am I even looking at the right website? They're telling that teaching somebody how to play video games and everything made sense the moment numbers came into the picture, right? when there is money, when there is economy somewhere,
yeah,
I think everything changes. And this was a completely a new thing for me. I've heard of people like, friends of friends, taking part in competition, playing. I think I heard people play Dota or Counter Strike, and I've played CS when I was doing my PUC and all those things. But I was not like that kind of a gamer. But Counter Strike is something that I enjoyed. But even today, if you ask me, my favorite game, Road Rash, is what I'll still go back to because
yeah.
of my love for bikes and stuff. But realizing that there is so much to this gaming world, and I wonder how I've not come across this. Probably, today social media is also mostly about algorithms, right? The moment you follow something, it shows you, it kind of limits you in a certain way. And it doesn't take you to explore new things and stuff like that. Maybe, that's could be one reason where I didn't have any exposure to this side. So I'm just processing it while I'm talking to you, because whatever I heard was like pretty crazy. The numbers that you said, and the disparity between, now say for example, you told, for cricket and football there are so many academies, there are so many aspirants, and it was proportional, even though the numbers, absolute numbers, were different for cricket and football. But then when you spoke about the absolute numbers for esport, we are talking about like just 100 plus academies, and then we are talking about like 1.2 billion, which is like both are extremes compared to both cricket and football. And I can now see why you might be a unicorn business down the line. I mean, no reason not to be. Whether you become or not, I'm sure time is going to answer, but there's no reason. And it seems from the outset, you're in one of those industries which is like futuristic. Everybody loves to hear about ideas that's going to blow big in the future, right? Because whatever most people know is something that's already saturated, and that's how it is, and that's the time you move away from it. But I think this podcast, whoever is listening to, I'm sure their mind is going to get racing and stuff like that. They're going to think, okay, how to make the best of this and stuff like that. So very exciting. Okay, cool. My first question, Adarsh, to
Yeah.
you, from whatever I heard from you, not that I've prepared a set of questions and stuff, because most of the
Sure.
things that you already cleared from me, the basic stuff. You spoke about how, now I know why there is
Yeah.
Gaming Geeks
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Let me get into that. But before that, out of curiosity, there is this audience base for the business model of, say, cricket and football or any traditional sport works from the fact that it's a content that they're creating for viewers. Of course, the pleasure of playing the sport is there, but then when you compare it to esport, the model is completely different, because the game builders have a different business model. They are selling their games. If we have to go back 10, 15 years, games were not made from a different business model than building a game and selling it to people, and there ends it. It's a private activity, it's a personal activity. But from what you say now, I'm sure there is, but I just want to clarify. So, is there a audience level business model also, like cricket and football, in the esport as well? Are there people who don't play but they
Yeah,
sit
I
and
think
watch and enjoy?
this is, you'll be again surprised to know this. I'll just give you, before I
Okay.
answer the numbers, it's very easy to give the number. Let me talk about the mindset, right?
Okay.
My cousin, so probably he was, sorry, sorry about that. He was about 10 or 11 is when I kind of
No problem.
saw him
Okay.
take my phone on YouTube
Hmm.
and watch a
Hmm.
stream of one of
Hmm.
his favorite gamer. So I asked him, "Boss, what are you doing?
Okay.
Like, who watches someone play?" He asked me a question. Why do you watch Man United play?
Oh,
Like, that's football. Yeah, this is
right.
esports. It's not so different. So today's generation, okay, they're
Okay.
one of their go-to recreational content consumption, so to say, is gaming. People watch
Okay. Okay.
streamers on a
Okay.
much more religiously compared to what we used to do during or what people still do for traditional sport. There are two reasons, right? So if I have to watch, say for example, for tomorrow, RCB is playing Mumbai Indians. I'm just giving a random example, okay? You can't play cricket every day. right?
Right.
So you today, if match happens and you'll have to wait. If I'm an RCB fan and I really don't care about other teams, for example,
Right.
I'll watch the next RCB game after 3 or 4 days.
Right.
Okay, but a streamer can
Correct.
play five
Correct.
games in a day, and he can broadcast 5 games in a day, and people are watching. So without quoting
Mm.
anyone's name here, right?
Mm.
India's probably most popular game streamer, so to say, right? Um, he gets 2-3 million
Mm-hmm.
views per video, per one video, which is, if you go look at say Hotstar's YouTube channel, so to say, and see the number of views that they have for the highlights of India versus Australia test match
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't even compare. So
Correct.
there is
Correct.
definitely a massive audience for
Right.
consuming esports. Okay, in terms of content. So there are, I mean, you go to YouTube and Twitch, and there
Got
are
it.
all these platforms dedicated. I mean, not YouTube so much, but Twitch and all, right? So they dedicated so much just for esports consumption. That means there is a relatively massive, bigger
Yeah.
audience compared to the actual esports enthusiasts that are currently active. So, I mean, I could be a wrong example. Like I said, I still consume esports because I still want to know what is happening in the world. I do it on the business side of things, but
Yeah.
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 But you look at the younger guys,
Business side of things. Yeah.
they want to consume esports like how we used to consume cricket or football content, which is live matches, right? So, and there are
Right.
these India esports open championship that happens. Like every publisher, for example, if it's PUBG or Valorant, they'll keep doing these annual tournaments now, where the Indian prize money was, I think, ran up to 2 crores that year. The winner, and I say not just the winner, the winner will
Okay.
get 50%, and obviously till the fifth or 10th place, yeah, total prize pool is
The
24 or
total
plus
prize
crores, right?
money
So
on offer. Yeah.
it's a
Got it.
massive
Got it.
money. And can you imagine 18, 20 year olds winning those kind of money? Life changing money.
It's life
And
changing
the good
money.
thing
Yeah.
is, every day you can just log on to just Google saying esports tournaments in India. Every day there is one new tournament happening, at least with a prize pool of 5
Okay.
lakhs, 10 lakhs, 15 lakhs. Those are massive monies, massive monies. And esports,
Wow.
there are people who are just watching it, like how we watch, like I said, any cricket, live cricket, right? There are people watching live tournaments. I'm so sorry. Yeah,
Right.
they're watching these live tournaments, live esports
No problem,
tournaments.
Adarsh.
So
Got it.
there is a significant market where people are consuming esports as a viewer, so to say. And these guys are no different to esports enthusiasts. Like I said, given an option, given the feasibility, I would have still probably played cricket. It's just that I can't now between my schedule office schedules. I cannot really go and
Right.
sorry, I can't really go and play cricket, for example, on an everyday basis. But
Right.
I
Right.
don't mind sitting and
Right.
playing a casual game with a bunch of my 4 or 5 friends. And the good thing about esports is
Right.
I mean, there is everything is rank based, right? So in-game ranking is what we call, right? So if my ranking is say a gold or a silver,
Right.
which is probably beginning, I'm not a beginner, but somewhere I'm in the middle, right? I'll always get pitted against the
Right.
likely opponents. So it's not like I'm playing with the guy who's probably at the immortal level and is too good. So that I lose my interest because I'm getting thumped so easily every day. So these are all the elements which basically
Right.
ensures that you, as a esports enthusiast, will stick on to playing or consuming esports even after, for example, you decided that what, it could not potentially not be my career, but still casually I'll play. How many of us will casually play cricket and football? Well, I would love to. I can't get hold of 10 people under one roof for me
Yeah.
to play
Yeah. Yeah.
cricket. Impossible. Yeah. But
Correct.
it's very easy to do
Yeah.
esports.
Yeah. Great. And now, while you were telling me these things, I was, when I see kids who are coming out and playing some sport on the ground, I'm just wondering, okay, like, who are you? Like, which generation are you? Because it is, when all the kids go to school, I'm sure the kids that go out and play some physical sport in the ground, they're the minority these days, I think. But I'm going to take a 5 minute detour. The cricket fan in me wants to really. So I was growing up, I was a cricket fanatic. Even now, I'm a huge RCB fan, and I watch India matches mainly because of Virat Kohli's presence and all those things. I love watching test matches. So what caught my attention was, when you were talking about the ticketing thing that Sporty Trip does. I just had a few questions I just want to know, just for the interest that I have in it. You said 40,000 tickets, for example, right? So Sporty Trip, you go and buy a fraction of those tickets available, and then you sell it in your
That's
own
right.
way.
So what we
Is that
do
what
is
you meant?
we don't do this for
Okay.
the events that happen in India. Okay. While we do only a
Okay.
little bit of corporate bookings and all of that, where people have more spending power. But our main play is tournaments happening outside
Huh.
India. For example, we were one of the official T20 hospitality
Oh,
partners
okay.
for the T20 World Cup that happened in Australia last year. So, I mean, can you imagine
Right.
getting an access to watch Virat Kohli live smashing those two sixes? What would you pay? How far is
Of
India? What
Harris
would you
Rock.
pay?
Yeah.
That is a different level of experience, right? So
Yeah.
that's
Right.
where we come into the picture, where we manage end to end, right? So like your stadium tours, getting access into the dressing rooms. This is where, I mean, just imagine going to Lords and sitting in the Lords balcony where Kapil Dev lifted the first World Cup for India. And as a cricket
Yeah.
fan, wouldn't you love it to love it to
Yeah.
be there? That's what
Yeah.
Sport brings in. We
Absolutely.
don't do too much in the domestic market, very little, so to say. But outside, for example, FIFA
Okay.
World Cup or the Formula One races, basically, right? We don't do across all Formula One races. Probably we do
Right.
only Singapore and
Right.
Abu Dhabi because Indians, it's a lot more easier to travel and all of that. Makes more economical and business sense. And all of this comes with an investment. So you need to put in X amount of money. So there's a bidding
Right.
process that happens. So whoever is the highest bidder will get the rights, and you eternally invest that money, market it in India, sell it for people like you and me. We go and watch and come. So that's how Spoil Trip as a model is designed.
Got it. And these experiences you're talking about, I'm assuming it's not during the like the while the match is happening, right? I mean, these are
That's
like either before or
that's right.
after
Correct.
the
That's right. So
match,
what we
like all these things. Yeah, obviously, like like having a look at the dressing room, what the players do, like
exactly
a guided
exactly that's right.
tour and
Yeah.
stuff like that. I
Just to give you a sense, so this is one
ha
thing we did with RCV, which was I think, a few years back. I can't recollect which year it
right.
was. But so while
Okay.
RCB were selling tickets through another platform, basically. So what we stitched up
Okay.
a
Okay.
very niche offering for the consumer is we called it the Royal Challenge packages, basically, and they were at different price points. It included,
Right.
for example, one of the most premium experience I want to talk about here is uh, match minus 1 day. Okay, so you will get to see the players train up
Right.
close. So you have your nets, right? You are actually
Ha.
next to the player
Right.
behind the nets. You see them how they train and what actually really goes into
Right.
their the methods they apply, the concentration levels, and the grind, so to say, right? So that's more important to know, because these kind of you are one of the
Right.
1.4 billion people who will obviously see what happened in a test match tomorrow, right? So, but you would have never seen this guy go through
Yeah.
those hardships while he's training. What his the way he prepares,
Right.
the methods that he applies. So it's all. I mean, money can't buy experience. Is what we call it, right. So this is
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
second thing
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
I'm still talking about the most premium package. Apart from the match to get all of this, right? So one is access to see the players
Got it.
train up close. You get to do a little bit of photo op and
Got it.
autographs and all of that. Right? That's again a great thing. Then we had a chance where you could stay at the
Right.
team hotel. And also, for example, if RCB is put up in IDC,
Right.
Windsor, for example, IDC Gardenia, for example, so you actually get to stay at the same hotel where you're actually
Right.
rubbing shoulders, you're seeing the players come in and come out, living in that atmosphere, basically,
Mm.
right? So this is what as a
Got
sportsman
it.
I want. I want more, man. Like because I don't want to be another 40,000 one of
Yeah.
the guys who
Yeah.
came
Yeah.
in,
Yeah.
sat in the stadium, watched the match, and went back. No, this is not what we want to do. We want to do a
Yeah.
lot more.
Yeah.
Customized. It all comes at a cost, and probably one of the things. I mean, not
Of
all
course.
businesses has to be a scalable business. You can't scale this, right? So how many times can I do a meet and greet with players are
Yeah.
there to
Yeah.
play? They're not going to
Correct.
do meet and greet. Eventually,
Correct.
beyond a point, but that's fine. That is fine uh,
Yes. Yes.
because our offerings, the perceived value is much higher to the actual value. Just to do a meet and greet with Virat Kohli. I'm just giving a random example,
Okay.
right? How much do you pay? Tomorrow, looking at the affordability and the market, yeah, exactly,
It's
exactly, because
priceless.
you're not Exactly.
You can't put
That's
a
where we
number
are
to
talking
such
about,
experiences.
right? So if you have the money, and we believe that there are people
Got
with
it.
money who are willing to pay for these kind of experiences, we are able to upsell a ticket which probably would
Right.
cost say 10,000 or 12,000 rupees
Right.
into say 15 or 16. We're not going to charge it 1.5 lakh, but
I was going to come
so
to
it's like
that
20 30
point.
percent extra
Okay.
increment basically. We had these experiences, so that
Got it.
is like a wow factor, right? So it's okay.
Okay.
I don't mind spending this 2, 3, 4,000 rupees more. And the moment you double it, people don't go. Yeah, people will
Yeah, yeah,
compare,
yeah,
right? So
absolutely.
eventually, I'll be seated in this time is what they'll know, and I can't be charging
Right.
10 times.
Right.
That's I mean that's not the way you ethically it's not right. Where I'm sure people would want to pay whatever the monies are to do it, but we want to keep it reasonably affordable to everyone,
Right.
and
Got it.
that's how it is structured.
And is this revenue
No,
also
so it's
shared with
all
the players?
with the board basically. It's not with the players. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
It's
They,
part of a
okay. Okay. Got
larger
it. Got it.
contractual
And
agreement the players will have with the team. Yeah.
larger contract. Got it. Got it. Got it. Probably a players would have already signed with the board that, these
Yes.
things are, you got
Yes.
a part of your thing will include
That's
all
right.
these things
Correct.
and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Got it. So, just one final question about this,
Mhm.
right? This experience that you said, let's say, for example, an RCB experience or whatever you
Mhm.
did in the past. For example, if it starts from staying in the same hotel and all those things. So, I'm sure, the ticket would be way higher for all those things compared to just the match thing. So, what was the highest package
There
that
were
you
about
had and you
yeah
offered? Just a
about
ballpark number.
75,000 rupees per package. Yeah.
75,000.
Yes.
It would include a
Yes.
room
Yes.
in the
Just to give
hotel
you a
and all
split
the
about
things put
the
together.
match ticket cost was about 25 30,000 bucks, which is the most premium hospitality stand.
Okay.
Which is right next to the pavilion, like to
Okay.
see the players come in, go out, and all of that basically. So, and
Ha.
I think it
Okay.
also included
Okay.
about 2 nights accommodation. I think back then selling at about 10,000 per
Right.
night or something like that. So add another 40,000 to it, and a little bit of
Hmm, hmm, hmm.
experience. We'll have some operational expenses. So manpower
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Of course.
the permissions, the licenses, and all of that.
Got it.
So yeah, so pretty much. But
Right.
I mean, this is the only way you can upsell. So you're talking about limited inventory, right? So I mean, no
Got it.
matter how much you do,
Right.
you technically don't need anyone to come and sell match tickets, right? People will figure out a way to buy it. So, but unfortunately, you
Right.
can sell
Right.
only
Right.
40,000 tickets. Some is 36,000. It doesn't matter. No
Right.
matter either they have to increase the stadium capacity. It's not so easy to do. It includes
Right.
serious capital,
Yeah.
etc., etc., all of that. The only way you can upsell the existing
Yeah.
inventory is by creating such experience, which eventually gives additional revenue and
Got
whatever.
it.
So yeah,
Yeah. 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 Sure. Great. Um, and are you doing something like that for the next
no,
IPL
no,
that's starting
no,
next
we're
month?
not
Are you
because
part of
I
the?
mean we are in conversation with few teams, but I don't think so. It will materialize. For
Okay.
the simple reason is because it's coming back after
Okay.
3 years in the home and away basis. Basically, even
Three
the last time
years.
it
Yeah.
happened in India, most of the matches happened only in Bombay. There was no home and away games and all of that, right? So I think they would like to consider. And
Correct.
plus,
Correct.
COVID is gone. I hope to be, I wish to believe this, but there is still they want to be cautious about. It includes a yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The priority right now is to
That's
kind of execute what
absolutely,
is planned rather
absolutely,
than the
absolutely.
additional stuff. And then probably if
That's right.
this year goes well,
Correct.
next year
That's right.
there'd
Yeah.
be a lot of
But I
stuff.
mean, we are in conversation with one of the
Got it,
teams.
Adarsh.
I'm not
Great.
sure if it really materialize, but definitely next year. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Good luck to you on that. Great. Thank you so much for these pieces of interesting information. I'm sure if there are any cricket fans, they love listening to all these things.
Okay.
I certainly enjoyed. Now, going back to Gaming Geeks, I had a question that you already answered, but what I love the most when you spoke about like the journey of how you came to Gaming Geeks. I think this is something that people can take away. What I realized first thing was that look, there's an opportunity in any business. There is an educational opportunity. You can make a business out of educating people about the business that you're doing or something related to it. And then it was I found it very organic when you said that you wanted to do something in the upskilling space related to the traditional sport that's being played. Then one of the major roadblocks to that is the kind of capital that you might need, or the ground. The nature of the sport itself is very different for you to kind of do it without a lot of capital. And business is done for profits at the end of the day. And that profit also, you want to do it in the most efficient way possible. And then you say, okay, you are in the sports, but then there is another version of sports that happening virtually. And then, there is suddenly this opportunity there where, you're coaching the people there. This, I found it like, amazing. You wanted to do something there, you couldn't do it. You're doing it a more scalable way here. Can you, deep dive into how exactly the transition happened? You start off wanting to upskill for cricket, football, you realize that's not feasible, and then you find esport, right, to do this Gaming Geeks. Can you like deep dive and tell, what was your thought process? What was the conversations you had with people? What was that point where
Yeah.
you got this idea
I
and stuff
think
like that? Adarsh.
so. I think it's always in our agenda. So I think see, it all started with the edtech in general, right? Let me just zoom out a little bit more, right? Yeah.
Yeah. This is now getting
So
interesting. When you talk about edtech, no, it's nice.
I should be the last person talking about edtech, but anyway. So, in general, right? So, you've seen, homegrown entities like your Byju's, Academies, Upgrad, something like that. They're
Right,
doing significantly,
right,
right? So,
right,
imagine they could have never
right,
scaled up if they wanted to go down the university paths. Imagine Byju's schools, Byju's colleges, Byju's tuitions. I mean, now they have a Byju tuition center and all of that. But can you imagine them
yeah,
having the opportunity to cater to say 10 million, what apparently is paid customers, if I'm not wrong, right? So I could be wrong. Whatever millions that they have, impossible for it to do, right?
right,
If they had gone through the
yeah.
model of opening their own colleges and traditional route.
Traditional route,
Exactly.
yeah,
So
brick and mortar
that's
model,
typically
yeah.
what happened with us in cricket, right? While we experimented, right? So one of the things that we thought was, can we get, I'm just giving you a rough example. These are ideas never happened, but we did little bit of trying to understand the product market fit and all of those exercises we did, right? So, say for example, I'll get
Right.
Sachin Tendulkar I'll shoot Sachin Tendulkar basically in
Hmm.
different angles on how he plays a cover
Hmm.
drive. Okay.
Okay.
It's a lot of tech involved,
Okay.
but I'll just
Right.
briefly mention how this is, right? So it'll talk about his head position, the back
Got
lift.
it.
The back lift can't come from the first or the second slip.
Right.
It has to be as closer to the wicket keeper as possible, and the position, the elbow positions, all of that, and
Right.
your foot position, all of that basically, and the
Right.
vision of the ball, right? So all of these, there was a possibility where we could probably take some videos, make some content out of it, and expected people to learn from the theory part of it. Practically, you're not doing it. I mean, eventually it
Right.
comes down to me on the pitch. While I might know the theory, right? So every time when a batsman gets out, we all know, oh shit, not so. That's not the way you played. You should have probably played it straight. Shouldn't have played with the cross bat, of course. But when you're implementing it, right, you will never get a chance.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
I think that's where we understood that with traditional sport, no matter what you do on the technology side of things, virtually I can give a lot of tutorial videos, motivational videos, if that's worth for anything. I can get the best of the coaches to talk about the technicalities of a sport and all of that, but it will never do justice until unless you implement it on the
Hmm.
ground and somebody is looking at you at
Implement.
that
Yeah.
time.
Right.
Basically, that is what I mean.
Right.
It could have happened. Maybe we didn't give it a try because I was not convinced. We were really not convinced that this is not the way you teach an outdoor sport, right?
Right.
So
Right.
anyway, with esports, it was a lot more easy to achieve that. The reason is, so how I'll tell you about Gaming Geeks structure, right? So we have program models,
Right.
modules for different levels, right? So if you're a beginner, there is a beginner module.
Okay.
Like if you're into the game for about 6 months, 3 to 6 months, and you know a little bit of, you don't need too much basics, but there's an intermediate program. And you spend, say, for example, more than one and a half
Right.
year, and pretty much the intermediate, lessons also. Then we have an advanced module, basically. And each of these modules has about
Right. Right.
6 to 7 lessons. in each module, right? So, which
Right.
basically each lesson will, I mean, just to give you an example, like I'm talking about Valorant, for example, right? It'll teach you attacking skills, defending
Right.
skills, aiming. How do you become good at aiming? How do you position your hand? How do you position your how's your positioning in the game? For example, they're all maps, right? Predefined maps will
Right.
be there.
Right.
So, what are the vantage points that you need to
Right.
get hold of in the beginning for you to have an advantage over an enemy? So, all of these skills. I mean, I'm just giving you random examples of what things will be covered across
Got
different
it.
modules at different levels. It will be covered.
Yeah.
Maybe in advanced module, I'll teach you advanced sniping tactics. While there is a basic model, I just show you
Right.
the basics of
Right.
how to what to do, right? So each of these lessons will be about the theory. We follow something called as a two tutor module, basically, okay? And all our
Okay.
classes are live and interactive. The two tutor model, because there is always a video that is
Okay.
playing which talks about one particular. We'll pick up one scenario and we'll dissect that scenario as to what happened, what right happened, what wrong happened, right? So that people are able to understand and learn from the
Right.
mistakes. And a coach is actually explaining that while the video is playing on the
Right.
background. It's like me drawing something on the chalkboard and showing and explaining how a teacher does. We're doing it on, obviously, on a Zoom and on a
Right.
video platform, basically, right? So um, and
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
time when a student has a doubt, he or she can pause at that moment and ask, why not that, why not this, basically. It's not just one way learning, right? So
Right.
20-30 minutes of theory classes, which probably, depending on the class and people have more questions, it could go up to about half an hour. And the next 15-20 minutes, we actually go into the game
Okay.
and we train them what you've learned. We will
Okay.
ensure that you are implementing what is being taught to you in that class. So
Got it.
and the coach is looking at the game, and we are not we are restricting only 10 people per class. Because
Got it.
we want to basically give our best of the attention possible to each of the students that are there, and hence it's easy for the coach to
Right.
basically have a look at each game. Or if it's 10, if it's more than 10, 15, gets a little difficult, and the efforts will be divided, and that much less time is spent on the in the in-game assessments, so to say. This is what people value about
Right.
it. So, like, come to think of it, like, I can probably give
Right.
an online education platform for traditional sport. Like I said, I'll give you enough videos, I'll give you enough things. People will come and talk about how to play a square card or a straight drive. But eventually, I'm not able to see you if you have really implemented this to the best of your abilities on ground. That is what we are able to do
Right.
in Gaming Geeks, and hence the thought and the conviction to go ahead and do this for gaming is why it made sense for us, basically.
Got it. Got it, Adarsh. So you spoke about, obviously, why e-sport could work better compared to traditional sport when it comes to coaching online and stuff like that. And you also said that you always had this idea of offering an education, also in addition to whatever you were already offering from an experience point of view. Some of the a fraction of the fans would also want to get deeper and learn and do it themselves also just for the fun of it. But was esport always part of the sporty trip agenda? Was esport always part, or
No, so I
esport
think
came in later?
we always knew that we wanted to do something in sports. Okay. But in reality,
Oh,
what
okay,
happened
got it.
was when, 2016, when we started Sport Trip, right? So it takes time to do
Right,
justice to
right,
one thing and not multiple things. So probably,
right,
to be
right,
honest
right.
with you, I think the pandemic has basically fast tracked the esports an element of our business.
Ha!
Exactly.
My next question was that, how much of an impact the pandemic and the lockdown had
Absolutely.
on
I
this
think because
esport thing? Right.
we are a 100 crore plus company in Sweden, right? So going great, and if you
Okay.
obviously it can scale. There's still a lot of potential, so to say, right? Just to give you a rough number, so that
Right.
again, these stats are mind boggling for a sports fan, right? So this 2019
Right.
World Cup, which happened in the UK, in a 50-over World Cup, right? About 2,000 crores were spent by Indians who traveled from India to UK to watch the match and come back. 2,000 crores. But
Wow.
I mean,
Wow. Wow. Okay.
in that project, so to say, the sport trip was. I mean, we probably did a fraction of. So there is significantly enough scope that is there for us to go after it, and hence we were trying to achieve that. And this kind of pandemic, basically, when I said right when everything came to a standstill, we had to reinvent, and this kind of
Right.
fast tracked by a year or so, so to say. And multiple ideas were there. Like it's not like we evaluated multiple things to do in esport. The one thing which we definitely didn't want to do is be a publisher, because that's too much deep tech, and we don't want to be a game publisher. So, okay? But the thoughts were, can I run? Can we own a team? Can we build a team and then make it a competitive, one of successful competitive T1 teams in the world, right? Or can we go and do a tie-up with just another thing, right? So there's a quote from I think NBA is the president. So he said the only reason why NBA has something called as NBA 2K, which is very sports vertical, is because for the next generation of kids, if I want them to follow NBA, then I need to appeal to them using esports. This is his, yeah. This is his.
Esport. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
these are his words, basically, right? And traditionally, because we've dealt with a lot of these Indian sporting teams like IPL, ISL, and kabaddi teams and all of that, right?
Right.
The thought process was, can we go and build a
Right.
esports vertical for them? So we will run it, so to say. Maybe grassroots will be a very small portion of it, which is upskilling and
Right.
all, but mostly aiming to be the number one esports competitive team in the world. That was one agenda. So we did a lot of brainstorming and looked at opportunities and looked at building a team and all that. But eventually, we didn't want to be that agency who will run these for someone else. We wanted to create something on our own. And so currently what we're doing, our
Right.
structure is basically we get an amateur esports enthusiast. He'll go through all of our programs, and we're actually giving him an end goal, which is we're giving him a chance to basically,
Okay.
we are going to tie up with the top esports teams in the world, and we'll act like a feeder system for their scouting.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, right? If we will give saying, if team XYZ, if we're looking for the best, one of the prospective or upcoming Valorant players in India, here you go, a list of 50 people, evaluate. It's like how we go for trials, right? So,
Right.
so
Right.
we
Right.
act like a
Right.
feeder system. So think about gaming geeks
Great.
like your division 4, division 3, then comes your division 1, then your Ranji and all of that, right? So we're like that system in the
Got it.
traditional sport.
Got it.
We play for a club, so you're part of a gaming geeks community. We'll give you access to some of the tournaments that only gaming geeks will offer to only their students, and then potentially we identify some talent, then
Got it.
we act like a feeder system for the T1 teams to probably get hold of the next biggest prospect in gaming.
Got it. This is great because although it comes across for the outside lay people, like, okay, Gaming Geeks is an educational company that's looking to train kids, but then, the roadmap or like the path that you showed, right? I mean, your business model, it's way bigger than just offering courses. In fact, offering these courses is just like a lead magnet for, identifying people who would be interested. And then, the feeding system that you're talking about seems like even a bigger business plan. Because even in the IPL today, if you see, when I'm following RCB, I think RCB is only showing publicly how they are scouting. They have a person just to scout today and all those things. But then Mumbai Indians have been doing that successfully from the start, and hence probably the reason they've got some players and stuff like that. So talking about that, is there a league like an Indian Premier League or a EPL in the
Yeah, I
esport
think
already in the world?
there are games, for example, Valorant, and like how people
Okay.
own IPL teams. There are players who, I mean, there are
Right.
celebrities who are owning the teams now. I mean,
People.
the likes of David Beckham, LeBron James, all of these guys have invested in teams and all of that. So it's massive.
Wow.
There are leagues
Okay.
happening, but
Cool.
again, that is, I mean, see, it's a closed league, right? You can have only 8 to 10 teams in each
Right.
for each game. But yeah,
Right.
but
Right.
nothing
For
is
each game.
stopping
Right.
from me and you tomorrow starting our own team, and we can still take part in a lot of the tournament that happen around,
Yeah.
apart from those leagues, for example, right? So because leagues are still played by those elite,
Right.
10,
Right.
15 teams, and it will remain, probably it will increase to 30, 40,
Correct.
50. But nothing is stopping from, say, if we decide to build a team, we can build a team and take part in, say, Indian esports championship that comes. I mean, I don't know when it's happening. something could come up in April or May, I think. Uh,
But there's a
No,
league in
no.
India
So no, no,
also,
not
similar
similar
to
to
IPL
IPL,
for the
not
esports
similar to
already.
IPL. But
Not yet.
there are, say for example, the publisher. Say for example,
Okay.
Krafton used to do this, right? I mean, Tencent used to do it, and Tencent was banned, and hence Krafton, who are the publishers of PUBG. They used to run All India Open,
Hmm.
I mean Indian Open Championship, so to say, for PUBG, which is BGMI, right? Where you could, I mean, anyone and everyone can basically participate in that. Then they'll all get filtered, and the
Got it.
finals will be only the top 20 teams. And in that, few invitees will be there. You will know who are the top tier one, like any other team, right? For example, if we talk about World Cup, you know the top 8 teams. The other 2, 3 spots are the guys who are churning out in your ICC qualification rounds and all of that. And then eventually your rankings improve and you make it to the top 8.
Correct.
Similar exercise can happen.
Got it. Got it. And for all these esport championships that are happening, it's kind of like, the leagues and stuff like that. So they also have their own streaming
Yeah,
channels, or do
they,
they stream it on YouTube?
Yeah, so I
Is it
think a
free? Is it
few,
paid?
it all depends on commercial arrangements also. So if Twitch comes on board and pays some money to be the streaming platform, it'll be on Twitch. While majority of the big, leagues, esports leagues, will always have a streaming platform. YouTube is also one of yes, and
They have
YouTube is
their own
also one
brand
of them.
stuff. Got it.
So most of the, I think, if
Got
I'm
it.
not wrong, the last BGMI league that happened, the tournament that happened in India, was streamed on YouTube, if I recollect it right. So, so
Okay.
PUBG
BGMI is a
is
game,
called
is it?
BGMI in India. So it's the same thing. I mean, it's
Oh.
so what happened was Krafton, which is exactly
PUBG
correct.
was
Yeah,
banned
yeah.
or something, right?
So the reason why it was banned was because, I mean,
Okay.
actually, it's a South Korean company which has developed this thing, and the name of the company is called Krafton. But the distribution rights was with this Chinese
Okay.
company, obviously we all know Tencent, and because of some
Yeah.
data
Tencent.
related
Yeah.
things, and they banned PUBG. But
Right.
But Krafton took on
Huh.
the responsibility of being the distributor for the India market also, and hence it came in as BGMI, which is
Hmm.
Battlegrounds Mobile India, which is nothing but PUBG, just renamed, Indianized.
PUBG.
Let's say.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Okay. But it's the same game
Yeah,
that they just
absolutely.
redistributed it. They
No,
didn't
nothing, nothing.
rework
It's
on
just that they
anything and
wanted the
stuff like
service to
that.
be in India and all those things.
Got it.
It's mostly to do with data related thing than anything else.
Cool. Got it. Great. Okay. So,
Yeah,
now coming back to Gaming Geeks, just a few questions. So, Gaming Geeks, you are part of Sporty Trip, and I saw that, you're the co founder, CEO of Gaming Geeks. So, is it like a subsidiary of Sporty Trip or something, or Gaming Geeks is totally an
yeah.
independent
So I
venture
think
that's started by you?
so. It all started under one roof, so to say, right? So, Sporty Trip
Okay.
and the Gaming Geeks. In fact, Sporty Trip added a lot of value in terms of money, etc., to venture into Gaming Geeks, basically. I mean, to start the venture of Gaming Geeks, right? But unfortunately, it
Got it.
can't be a single entity, because the kind of markets that we're talking,
Right.
the kind of investors that potentially we would want, and the kind of it's completely a tech play, right? So, which is an ed tech platform, whereas SportyTrip
Right.
is mostly a sports fan experiences platform. We're talking to two different sets. For example,
Right.
I'm
Right.
talking for SportyTrip. My potential
Right.
customer is someone who's 35 plus and who's earning, at least a lakh a month, who could potentially afford these kind of packages once a year or something like that,
Correct.
basically, right? So, but gaming is completely different.
Right.
So we need people who are probably 12, 13, 14, and up to 27, 28, and hopefully the 27, 28 will become 30, 31
Right.
in the near future. Completely two different segments altogether. And unfortunately, fortunately, I don't know, but we had to
Right.
start Gaming Geeks as a different entity altogether.
Got it.
Sporty Trip, I mean, eventually, right, the thought process, everything, the core intention remains the same, which is still to appeal to a fan. Like, he's
Right.
a sports fan. Like, he's still consuming some kind of a content, some kind of, I mean, I'm still consuming sport. I'm still playing sport, but it's just that I'm doing esports. But
Right.
unfortunately, esports is different to a traditional
Right.
sport in terms of audience and all of that. and hence it is a different
Right.
entity now.
Got it. Got it, Adarsh. Now,
Yeah.
when we talk about an edtech company, right? Let's say, so far, some of the different domains that I have had a chance to interact with. Obviously, the most traditional one is for academics, like,
Yeah.
Byju's or an academy and all those things, which eventually goes
Yes.
to the
Yes.
job route. You do these things because that's how we've been designed. Now, some of the alternates that are happening now is there are players, who teach music on online platform. There are players, who teach traditional sport also,
Yeah.
here and there. It's a combined hybrid model, right? A little bit of practice, a little bit of theory, and all those things. And then there's an interesting thing which you might be interested in, which you can also use it and see if there is a chance for you to collaborate. When you started off, you were talking about the way you grew up, and then how your family was. Proper doctor, lawyer, and everybody, and then sport is always, obviously, it's like a gamble for people who are so safe, and the middle class values in India and all those things is very much so. So somebody who faced a similar problem, he started an academy for his son
Mm-hmm.
called his Champ for Life, based in West Bengal, Calcutta, and this was started by a golfer. His name is Indrajit Balotia, and he happened to be number one in India during a certain period of time. And then I had a chance to talk to him. And then what Champ for Life does? Champ for Life offers a platform for people who do not want to take the traditional way to life by focusing on academics, getting a degree, and all this. But at the same time, unfortunately, we are still in a setup where no matter how much talent and skill you might have, you need a degree for a backup. Like, still there are jobs that kind of
Yeah.
have this as a criteria,
Yeah.
to apply and all those things. So parents always want their kids to kind of have one degree at least. So Champ for Life, what they do is they've taken up curriculum from National Institute of Open Schooling, and then they've condensed it just how much is needed for somebody to pass with putting like 30 minutes of effort per day, so that 8 hours of the day they can focus on sport. But then when he started off, he was looking for people who would focus on sport, but then he realized that that could be used for anybody who's looking to focus on, say, dance or an art form. And now I think esport can be, if there are parents who are concerned about their kids not having even a degree, you can always tell that, hey, you know what, don't worry about it. If your kid spends an hour every day, he can still end up having a degree and all those things. So that's an important development
Yeah, I
that's
think
also
you're
happening.
absolutely right. So, in
Um,
fact,
but
it's in much more matured markets like, say, Europe and America, right? If you are an esports
right,
athlete, you would get benefits
okay,
for your colleges and all, right? Scholarships, and like how, for example, I went to a school which was massive in basketball.
yeah,
So if you're a good basketball player, not school, so this was in engineering, right? So you're good in
right,
basketball, like yeah, your ranking probably wouldn't get you could get your seat there, but still you would get it, you know. So like that in a lot of more matured markets in America and all,
yeah,
people, if you're a good athlete, a good esports athlete, I mean, you're people like, I mean, top notch universities are getting people who are good in esports and all. And there's I can't recollect the exact numbers, but the University of North Carolina got funded by the North Carolinian government about $120 million just to improve the infrastructure of for
wow,
esports at all schools and colleges and universities. It's different level. $120 million.
yeah. Very, interestingly, Indrajit Balotia
Right.
also had to talk about the same thing. And how he was talking about where India is way behind when it comes to these things. One of the reasons is
Yeah.
not because we do not have talent, but then, there's no system to bring out the talent that
Yes.
is there, even for traditional sport. And I'm sure e-sport will be multiple folds because, it is, physically independent sort of a thing. And obviously the numbers are going to be high. Going back to what I wanted to bring up as a topic, is it's like kind of two pronged. One is when you compare, Gaming Geeks is also now, we've established it is following an edtech pattern. It's just the content that you're focusing is very different, but you're still in the training business, you're in the education business. If you take traditional businesses, right, first thing, traditional edtech businesses, the first thing they need is content. Second thing they need is people to train. And then, third thing they need, especially for doing it online, they need an online platform and online infrastructure and all those things. And then, to develop the business, the marketing and all those things. So for Gaming Geeks also, is the organizational structure pretty much the same, or, is it any different? Or do you need any extra things? How do
No,
you
it's exactly
compare
the same.
these
I
two
think pretty
things?
much you covered everything whatever
Okay.
we have implemented in getting this up and running, right? So the way we do is probably first step is basically
Okay.
to create the content, right? For that we need to identify the
Right.
top coaches who are really good in creating such kind of content and who
Right.
come with a wealth of experience and who trained a lot of people. So they'll come in and design these curriculums for us. And most of the times, what we have done is
Right.
for our initial 2 months, we actually got these coaches to come and take the sessions. The reason why is first-hand information, right?
Okay.
So a lot of these feedbacks, how do you implement it, and what we're doing is we are following. I mean, at some stage, we want to follow the cult model. I'll tell you, when I say cult model, it's not about having offline centers. At cult gyms are. I'm not talking about that. We're
Okay.
talking about standardizing, basically, right? So, for example, if I have to learn HRAT
Hmm.
in cult Indranagar, I'll be in the
Okay.
cult in Banaswadi, for example, where you live. If you go to a cult there, they're teaching the same exercises,
Right.
standardized, basically, and that
Hmm.
has scale, right? So, otherwise, what is happening? For example, one of our closest competitors, so to say, is a
Hmm.
marketplace for coaches, basically. Okay, and what they do.
You mean, sorry to cut you short. When you say closest
Gaming Geeks,
competitor, you're
exactly.
saying the
Yeah.
competitor of Gaming
So
Geeks?
they act like a marketplace for
Okay.
coaches. For
Okay.
example, if there are 100 coaches, I can just
Okay.
list myself there. There'll be a profile. People will come if they're interested to buy your profile. You get to put some videos of yours and how you've done, what all you've achieved, and all of that. So people will book you for 1 hour and go, right. So how can you become a good esports player if I take 1 hour crash course? Yeah, there is absolutely no way of
Correct. Correct.
doing this.
Right.
Right? So this is where
Right.
we are going by this model of structured curriculum-based learning. Yes. And that's why I spoke about in 5, 6
Got it.
topics in each modules, right? So these are designed by one
Right. Right.
prominent coach who we believe has a wealth of
Hmm.
experience with actually making more sense, and that will be eventually delivered by say 10 other coaches under him. But these coaches are also trained by that coach in the initial bit, so that the same language is spoken. See, all we
Got
want
it.
is physics
Yeah.
chapter
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
in Bangalore is taught in a different way to something Bombay is taught in a different way, and there is absolutely no way that you can. That's not how the education. So the only way education has worked wonders for India is because of these regulations and structured way of learning, and exactly it's all defined, predefined. On in eighth standard, if you are taking science and this is what you learn, so that is the model that we follow.
Right.
Then obviously comes your tech, which is your learning management system and all of that. Then your website, obviously, to front end your product presence, something. And we have done a little bit of marketing. While we understand that India and all is still a very very early. It's still a very early stage, but it was not easy for us to do an experiment in the India market. And slowly now we have kind of ventured ourselves into the Middle East market as well. So currently we are active with two games, which is Valorant and PUBG. For the India market, mostly Valorant because PUBG is still banned in India. But for the Middle Eastern market, we
Right.
are offering both the games. Our aim is to obviously go after newer markets. So yeah, hopefully it will happen soon.
Got it, Raj. So, one more interesting thing about like talking to you is just Gaming Geeks is like technically just 2 months old. I'm sure your ideation and all those things will be going on from a very long time, but officially, from the business perspective, it's just 2 months old, and totally take into consideration it's only 2 months old. This will offer a very different kind of an insight to listeners out there, because the mindset when you're starting off is so much more different when you're like 1 year, 1.5 years, 2 years into it. Is Gaming Geeks, how ready is it? Is it? I'm sure you're still ramping it up. You're in the building stage of it, but if you have a certain expectation in mind,
See, I think I would like to
when you
believe
compare
it's
the
never
current
100%.
situation of
Okay.
Gaming Geeks,
Uh,
how
but
much percentage are you there? Is it
yeah, always
100%?
approaching 100%.
But I think the way to look at where Gaming Geeks is today, right? So,
Right, right,
like I said, I'll
right.
just
It's
give
always
you a little
approaching
bit of a
100%
history to this,
anything.
right? So, we kind of officially
Yeah.
decided to do this in 2022 of July or August. Is when we said, let's go ahead and do this. By August or September, we already had some curriculums for Valorant to begin with.
Okay.
Then
Okay.
the kind of the topics that were covered, for example, like I spoke
Okay.
about, say, the basic model, for example. If I have to give you that example, that was very basic. Like, just to give you in terms of traditional sport, if I have to talk, how do you hold the bat? That's what we were teaching. That's
Right.
very important, right? But today's kids, they don't want to learn that. They don't want to play. They don't want to be
Right.
taught
Right. Right.
how do I play a front foot defense.
Right.
I want to learn switch hit six. That's what I want to
Okay.
learn on day one. So we had to rejig while we understand that
Okay.
this is the basics are so important for your
Right.
for your
Right.
long
Right.
run
Right.
call. But kids today are like, no, boss, I
Right.
know all of this. I don't want
Right.
to I don't want to learn this thing which I know of. So what we've done is we kind of rejigged that. We got
Right.
in some interesting elements to come in while they're already excited. Day one, session one, though they are come under basic program, but they're all excited. Oh wow, there's
Huh.
something new I'm learning.
Right.
But after we have said
Right.
that, we talk about basics, and then they understand. So we're not letting that go, also, right? So in order to get all of these learnings, there were times where our first batch
Huh.
of, say, 6 or 7 kids, they came in and
Okay.
they just quit in 20 minutes. So, like, I'm not coming back. This is too boring for me. I know you're teaching me something that is like absolutely, and I like I said, yeah. So then we understood. Then we had to go into the market and ask,
Oh.
call them. They're not answering our calls. Call them. What was working? Tell me
I
what
see.
happened. I'll refund your money also, but you tell me what happened so that give me the feedback. And once all of this happened, so eventually, I think by November is when we had one super
Right. Right.
perfect
Right.
model, whatever,
Right.
if not perfect, right? So one efficient model to basically go into the market. So that those learnings were there. uh, and we tweaked our programs, basically, right? So initially we were
Got
giving
it.
only the theory lessons, then we made it into theory and practical, like I said, right? So 20 minutes, 30 minutes of theory, then you
Right.
go into the game and you implement that, and there is some feedback given, so people are more excited. And people after that, like, can I play
Right.
practice games? Can I play, we call it scrims. Okay, this is a gaming term for having these
Right.
practice matches, so to say. They're called scrims. Like, yes, and people want to play scrims, basically, right? So that's competitive, right? So can you organize scrims for us? So if
Oh,
you
it's called
buy our
scrims. Okay.
program, you
Right.
actually get these 5-6 lessons, then in-game coaching, and
Right.
then you get to play these practice matches, which will be, again, assessment will be done by the coaches, in the in a competitive environment. How have you fared? That is another, again, a great learning, for the kids, basically. And another key
Got it.
element in the product is, for example, if I'm playing a game with my friends, okay, and no coach is there, I can actually screen record and send it to us, so our coach will evaluate and tell you. So like that, you get to send about 4 video
Right.
clips, which will still be evaluated. For example, if I have a challenge one on one, I'm always losing, for example, right? So how do I get better, and what mistakes am I doing? Can you please evaluate, look at my video and tell you? Yeah, we'll tell you. So we're not just selling a lessons, but we're selling a package. This is called the basic package. So these kind of improvisations are happening, basis the feedback that we're getting. It all obviously comes at a cost.
Hmm.
All of that, people are willing
Got
to
it.
spend, and we are in a way, I think, uh, we're reasonably convinced that we have a product which we can take it into the market, which we've already done, like I said, for the. But I think there is still a lot of gap in terms of tech, basically, right? How tech can
Right.
solve this problem.
Right.
For example, if we can use a computer vision technology, and all they had to do is basically upload the videos, and the
Got it.
system will give you the feedback, and not the
Hmm.
coach, which is scalable beyond a point, right? So
Hmm.
that's a game changer for us, basically. So that's in
Right.
phase 2, phase 3, etc., etc. But
Yes. Yes.
our
Yes.
initial,
Yes.
how do you say, thought process is basically
Right.
to have, by the end of this year, to have about 5 to 6 games, and have about 20,000 paid customers, across 3 or 4 markets. So we are at about 2,000 customers currently from last December
Wow.
onwards.
Okay.
Can we get to 20,000? Of course we can. That needs obviously a lot more,
Got it.
marketing efforts and product development efforts and all of that. But again, I think from 20,000 to 2 million, if you have to scale, then I think technology will play a very, very important factor here. So that probably we need to address it in 2025, 2024 rather. So not completely there, but in the process, baby steps, like I said. Will hopefully, hopefully we'll get better
Got it.
in due course.
No, I mean, it's amazing to be honest. I think very simple things, but some of the things that traditional edtech platforms can borrow from this little conversation that we had was, if a kid is dropping off in 20 minutes, 30 minutes, just call and find out what went wrong. And, you need to go and adapt your way of offering. You have to entice the kid, man. There's no other way, because kids are not the ones you force anything on. At least adults can, take, let's say, upgrad or an academy, and all those things is different. But when it comes to kids, I think probably that's where Baiju's try and do so much in terms of innovation and stuff. But then one of the basic things that you probably brought in here was calling up and then figuring out what it is, probably if required refund the money, and then switch, and then have the kids come back. And then, but the good thing was you didn't even compromise on your basic teaching. You first 1 hour you made them feel comfortable. So it boils down to just making a relationship, building a relationship with the kid, building some sort of a trust, and then probably helping them ease into it, and then introducing basics is probably doing the job for you. That is one thing which is great. And I have one question. When you were talking about it, I was just thinking, like, randomly, my niece, I have a 4.5-year-old niece, and then she came to my mind, and I was like, okay, fine, because I'm a guy who's always, when I meet kids, I tell them about what are the different career opportunities that are there today for people, which was like totally absent like 15 years back, right? It was just 3 options, 4 options, and boring stuff. But today there are like 100 career options, literally. And then talking to you, it's so much more exciting to me. Not only becoming a gamer, just around your industry, the kind of roles that you will be hiring for is like crazy. If somebody who's like a hardcore gamer in their last 5 to 10 years, they finally have something from which they can make money off from that angle.
Yeah.
Now, my question
See, I
is
think
this: what is
unfortunately it is
the
not equal. Okay,
proportion
but
of
what
the
is
number of
exciting?
boys to girls that are coming?
Yeah, which is, but what is encouraging? Um, I think at least about 12 to 15
I didn't
percent
expect that.
girls are part of our program in terms of the
Okay.
overall number, so to say. Uh, uh, but I think in general in esports, I think more than 20
Okay.
25% women are, I mean, girls slash women are playing esports out of that
Hmm.
globally, out of the 3.1 billion I spoke about, right? And that is, I mean, there are the numbers are only increasing, by the way, now. Okay,
Globally.
so to an extent
Okay.
that some of the top teams,
Okay.
they have an all women lineup for the competitive team, for example, right?
Okay.
So uh, uh, so there are brands who are backing these kind of ideas and encouraging women and participation in esports, and
Right.
that thing is happening. It's just a matter of time. I think we'll see those numbers also come up and be proportional. But we have
Right.
had I mean, I think our first 2 or 3 sessions that we had at least one or two women who are part of our programs, so to say. And I mean, insightful. I mean, I don't know why, even including me, I thought, usually the boys are the guys who have the gaming
Great.
DNA and all of that. Absolutely not. I think some of them are at par, if not better. I mean, if not better in terms of
Yeah.
their acumen for gaming and all of that. So they're up there. I think uh, I've seen this, right? So I was just walking sometime on the road, and I happened to walk past someone's house, and there was this young girl. I think probably she was 15, 16 year old. She's playing PUBG, and she is basically telling one of her boy teammate. This is not how you play. How many times I've told you? I think she took one name, so that's why I know it's a boy. So it's brilliant, brilliant.
Right.
It's very encouraging to see across all genders there's a participation, and of course they are not. I'm so sorry. Of course, they are not, proportion yet, but it should get there soon.
No problem. Well, I mean, 15% is not a bad start at all. I think it shouldn't be too long.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Yes, I can hear it. Yeah.
no problem. Can you hear me now? Oh, okay. I thought my audio went off or something. A couple of times that's happened, so that's the reason even I was a little worried. No, but I think 15% is not a great number to start off. I think it's only going to increase gradually and slowly.
Yeah.
So you said, you're targeting
Yes.
on having at least 4 to 6 games by the end of this year, and then you're
Yeah.
looking at having
So we
20,000
went
paid
in
customers.
with a very with this
So
freemium
what
model,
are the
so to
numbers
say.
like
Okay,
now, two
so
months
we because we
into
wanted to
it?
understand the feedback. So we were all after our ensuring that our
Right.
product is world class, and especially the content, what people are listening.
Correct.
So we wanted to ensure that as many people as possible just come and
Product. Yeah.
take
Yeah.
our programs, so to say. So
Right.
we're at about 2,000 in terms of freemium, and in that 2,000 people, and the people who paid
Right.
money
Right.
is at about 100 basically, right? 100 people have actually put in the money. So basically, what we
Okay.
give is in the freemium model, we give the basic program, and we'll give one assessment free of cost. So if you are
Great.
excited, then you'll come and buy our entire course. So we offer our intermediate program onwards as a paid product, basically. The basic is free,
Right.
and we have kind of shortened the offering for the freemium model. It's not as detailed as it is, but we will obviously cover all of those elements in
Got
the
it.
paid
Got
sessions.
it.
So we're at about 100, which is a great conversion number, so to say. And yeah, correct. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Got it. Yeah, it's 5% at the moment, which is great. Okay, got
Yeah.
it. And what are the marketing
Yeah,
tools or the marketing practices that you're following to
users.
get
Exactly the point.
your
So I think
paid customers, or even the
we've
users
just
for that
taken
matter?
a
Because I
couple of
think at this point in time, for you, what's
channels
more
how
valuable
to
is
get
users and their
users on board.
feedback.
One is your traditional
Yeah.
social media marketing, which is basically Instagram. Nothing, it's very simple. The language we're talking there is, come take part in our free scrims. We'll give you assessments. We'll give you a basic program, and then once people are listening to the coaches, and that's when people are converting. That's one method. Second is we are after these college tournaments, basically. So we are sponsoring the tournaments, and the
Got it.
top 4 teams who qualify for the semis, for example. So they'll be given
Ah.
a quick 2 hours brief about
Mm.
what they should expect in a game and what they should do better.
Right.
Obviously, it's not as detailed, like I said, but still there is some kind of sampling that we're doing from our coaches, which is adding a lot of value. And people who have actually been able to implement that, they're seeing the change in results. For
Got
example, in
it.
one of the
Got it.
tournaments, I think this was Manipal Institute in Jaipur. This is
Right.
again the feedback that we got.
Right.
We had one of our coaches to come and give a very generic feedback to all the 4 teams who are there. And it was, I mean, everyone
Okay.
were under one roof. We didn't have any different standards for anyone, right? So one team which was not
Right.
meant to be a favorite to win the tournament there, okay, but they're in top 4, but we're not meant to be favorite, won it.
Okay.
Because is their feedback is we did implement some of the key elements that we were told.
Okay. Okay.
So people are seeing results. Okay, I think so. Basically, the improvement in ranking from a basic rank to
Right.
2-3 levels up. For kids used to take good 6 months, 7 months. Now they're able to achieve in 40 days, 45 days. Those kind of jumps, so to say. So we have, I think, we've understood now what exactly the students
Got it.
want out of it, and it's not always competitive, right? So it's as basic as if I'm playing with my friends, like I do every day, I need to get the bragging right as I'm the best amongst my friends.
Right.
And people are actually coming and taking our programs for that, not
Right.
always saying that what I want to represent my country in the next Olympics. Right? So
Right.
while that
Right.
goal is still doable, achievable, but out of passion, man, I just want to get better. So it's like how to go and learn music, right? You're
Right.
telling
Right. Right.
talking about music and say drawing and all of the other elements, painting and all of it, right? So
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
no different. We are just another extracurricular activity, is what the way we are
Great.
positioning it. But we also, because
Right.
there is a career option, and there are much larger opportunities compared to say singing and whatever, art and drawing and painting and all of that. There is potentially a career path for you. We're not promoting it saying as
Right,
come, I'll
right,
make you the best gamer in India. No. So just get
right.
better. We will ensure that you get better in your gaming is what we're saying, and people are seeing results. And the more keen you are, so it all depends on the kids' interest levels, right? So I might, for whatever reasons, decide to drop off from gaming. You don't have control, but at least if kids are happy and if kids have improved during the stint that they had with
Right,
us,
right, right. Of
that's
course.
what
Yeah.
we are focused on providing the students.
Got it, Adarsh. You know what? I mean, when you were talking about this, and even when you spoke about these music and painting and all these things, you said, yeah, definitely you are also another extracurricular activity. But then, for some reason, see, it's always, even when it comes to academics, or for that matter, even when it comes to, like music and arts and stuff like that, maybe some percentage of students, very minuscule percentage of students, might initiate this entire activity of getting enrolled. But mostly, I think it's going to be parents only. But the one of the biggest advantage that you have is this is, and the students are going to go to their parents and they're like, what, enroll me into this game coaching, and then and the whole drama that ensue is one different thing. But the need to improve organically for kids more than their education, I think it's going to be here. Because one of the fun things that you do as a teenager, as a kid, is play games with your friends and be popular there, and then be good at what you're doing. So I think from a business model, yours is looking way more exciting as a layperson for me, from an outside perspective. But I also want to place this rather a naive question. I'm sure you are way more mature the way you look at it. But for me, just as a guy who's looking at Gaming Geeks from outside, and it comes across like super exciting in the edtech space. Have you thought about this? Surely, not going too much into details and numbers and all, from a common sense perspective, this looks like a business that's gonna, like, blow up for sure, because you're teaching kids to have fun in a better way. So that's definitely enticing for the kids. Have you ever thought, um, have you had this insecurity that before a big guy comes and
Yeah,
captures the market,
I think,
you need to
see,
do something about it?
I
Has all
want,
those
I mean,
thoughts
I
ever
respect
come in, and
competition. Okay,
what is that
so,
like?
but not scared of it. Okay, and like I said, right. So there's hardly, I don't think so. One guy or two guys, or
Right,
like, okay, 10 guys will come and solve the world's problem.
right,
The gap is so much, right? We spoke about the numbers. And we have a little bit of a a head start compared to every other
right, right,
whoever the big guys could potentially come into.
right.
I think we're reasonably well placed. Obviously, a lot of challenges. It's not like
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
still in the very early
yeah.
stages, but at least in terms of our product and where we are at, and how much of market has taught us in terms of what is needed, what is not needed, who are the coaches.
Right,
For
right,
example, right, the idea is um, if I sign up the best PUBG coach to come and design the program for me. Okay, and I will have his rights for the next 3 years, basically, whatever the
right,
economics are around it. So I have, I mean,
right,
3 years I can use his
right,
name, and
right,
he has probably 50 million, 100 million followers, for example, right? So if I mean, it's just like promoting again cult, right? So HIIT by Ritik Roshan, Prowl by Tiger Shroff, what I'm saying, right? So these are the elements that we could that's there in the planning. We could potentially get there. So currently we have some reasonably
right,
good
right,
coaches
right,
who we are tied up
right,
for say 1 year.
right.
uh, Obviously,
Got it,
more money, I can tie them up for a longer duration as well. So we'll have some head start. So
got it.
uh, can someone else
Right,
come in and do something similar to what we're doing? Can they do better than us? Of
right,
course, I mean, there is definitely that kind of competition is definitely there. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. Yeah.
right. Got it. No, I mean, as just coming from an excitement point of view, and there's
Exactly.
not like you're not in a space, where you're going to be laid back, and it's not a boring kind of thing. It's really an exciting thing. So that's where I was coming from. Now, you said your aspirations are, or you're aiming at having 20,000 paid customers, and you would have your way how you arrived at there. But from a team's perspective, right? Gaming Geeks as a team. Um, are you ready? Are you
No, I think
equipped from a manpower
we have a very
perspective, from the resources
basic team, so to
perspective
say.
to hit there, or
We're
you're still in
about
the
five
building
five of
stage?
us.
And if yes, what are your
Mostly
plans?
a couple of product guys, one marketing guy, and two operations guys. This is apart from the
Okay.
coaches. So coaches are,
Okay.
we are on a contract. No, no, no. Exactly. Yeah, correct. Yeah. Coaches are
Got
different
it.
again, who are
There is
the
no
guys who are
overlap
actually
with the
delivering
story trip here.
the content
These are
and
all like
the
dedicated Gaming
sessions and
Geeks
all.
guys. Got it.
We are contracted by coaches, so as and when the demand comes. So we are not occupied 8 hours a day, for 30 days to have people
Got it.
under our payrolls yet. Once we get to that stage, we
Yeah.
could
Yeah.
probably hire all of them, so our strength will increase. So currently, we're doing on a contractual basis, as and when the demand is there. Very
Right.
little
Right.
crude
Of
way,
course.
like talking to the coaches, saying, "Are you free tomorrow, 7
Got
p.m.?"
it.
Because usually the scrims run. I mean, people who want to play esports, they start only at 6, 7 in the evening, go up till about past midnight, and all of that, right? So. Um, but definitely, so we're in the process of raising some
Right.
seed
Right.
money now.
Right.
Majority of it will obviously go into marketing and demonstrating scale, etc.,
Got it.
etc., all of that. Some of the elements which will add a lot of value is the technology bit, which is the LMS and some of the tools that you could build and all of that. So
Got it.
that needs more people. We look to be at about 20 or 20 plus in the next. I mean, depending on when we'll close the seed round,
Right.
we'll be about 20 plus hopefully by the end of this year. Uh, that's the focus. Yeah.
Got it.
No. It's yeah.
Got
I
it.
mean, with friends and family, we've
And
bought in
Gaming
some
Geeks, as of now, is
basic
not like
angel
externally
level
funded
funding,
yet.
and
You're still looking
took
for that
some
first
loan from
external funding.
Spoiled Rep. Because the same guys were running it. So, but again, hopefully, you'll be able to pay it back. Yeah,
Got it.
yeah, yeah.
Got it. Got it. And the
No, I
20
think
plus team that
marketing
you're
will be
talking
probably
about, do
lesser.
you see them mostly, majority of
Yeah,
them
it
being in the
could be
marketing team,
not
or
more
what
than
is the
four
split
people to
like?
begin with. We could seek some external help in terms of agencies, and
Lesser.
so I
Okay.
think a lot of our efforts were also a little bit we want to do on the offline part also,
Okay.
which I spoke about the colleges, and because you get bulk of the
Right.
audience there, and you
Right.
can actually they'll relate to more. I mean, where they are, and pretty much everyone
Right.
around that age, right? So who are also financially in a way independent to
Hmm,
put
hmm,
in the
hmm,
kind of
hmm.
monies that we are asking, right? So they'll have access to some
Yeah.
money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Otherwise, schools are people like are for every
Correct.
$100 they're dependent on the parent, like you mentioned last time. So we have seen, obviously, we've
Right.
seen a little bit of resistance from parents, and we have spoken to a lot of parents, and few are convinced, few are not
Right. Right.
convinced.
Right.
But okay, but college, at least 17, 18, who's turned 17, 18, they'll have access to some card or UPI, and all of this have
Right.
been a game changer for us. Now they can put in the money themselves. So a lot of efforts will also be on the offline side of things, and that's when the operations team comes into the picture. Basically, going and taking part in sponsoring
Yeah.
the college fairs and running schools summer camps. Basically, that's one of the things that we are talking. We're talking to some two,
Got it.
three top international schools in Bombay and Bangalore, where we're doing
Right.
like a not a boot camp. It still happens online, but it's a summer camp basically, but virtually.
Got it.
So we will do a 10-day, not more than 1 hour per day, and it's a anyway. These guys are all on mobiles, and they don't have restriction in summer holidays. You can play mobile games for as long as you want. At least this is a better way of spending your time learning esports. So a lot of these efforts
Right.
are there.
Right.
So mostly operations, because it will be operationally heavy. To achieve to cater to 20,000 kids and across different geographies and timelines and all of that. It'll also we'll also need a lot of a tech
Right.
team of about 7, 8 people,
Right.
a few operations, and about
Right.
4, 5 into
Right.
marketing and some product guys. So we need to develop new products. Like I said, we have 2 games. If I have to get to another three,
Got it.
four additional games, then we need the new product guys to start working on identifying what has to be, again doing a little bit of market research for that particular game. So we might not have all 20 plus people on day one, so we'll end up there, yeah,
Got it.
by the end of this year.
Right, of course. Yeah,
Exactly.
got it.
Exactly.
And the
Yeah,
product
yeah,
guys you're
exactly. Our
talking
current
about,
gamers.
they will be having gaming
Yeah.
backgrounds, right? Because they are
So
the
our
ones who will be
average
able to
age of our
identify,
company is
and
probably,
they'll be
if you take
ex-gamers,
me out, it'll be 20 to 23.
current gamers. Okay,
So
great, fun
these are the
times.
guys who know, right? Who are the every day, and these guys are the experts in gaming.
Great, man.
Our thought process, and we can only probably help structure it, but
Yeah,
the business perspective, exactly. I mean, this generation, I think it's a different level of expertise that they get onto the table.
from a business perspective. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, what a time it is for all the gamers out there. I hope, if somebody are listening, I'm sure they're going to be reaching out to you, getting excited and stuff like that. Cool. Um, a while back, you spoke about Gaming Geeks' business model at a high level. It's not just about, right now we're talking about building products, courses, and then, having 20,000 students by the end of the day. By the end of the year. But you said about the tournaments, like the leagues and all those things, and you're looking at yourself like a feeder for those things, and that's another whole business model right there for you. So how are you
I
looking at it?
think
It's just a high level thing. Are you working on it as we speak, or is it something that
yeah.
is for
See, I'll tell
future?
you, basically for
Right
us
now for
to,
this year, is
we've
it
had
just going
some
to
chat with
be
a few of the
selling these
teams
products and
in
having the
India and
20,000
globally also.
students in? Is that
Uh, for us to really add value to their scouting systems and all, right? So we need to have a bucket of players that who are really good,
right?
and we have identified, we have coached them, and then we can do it. So we're hardly about, we're just starting off. So I don't think so we'll be able to do anything. But eventually, I mean, it will
Huh.
also make sense to
Right,
them
right, right, right,
to
right.
come to us when we have like thousands of kids.
Correct.
So again, I hope by within the next 12 months we would have had some partnerships with
Correct.
few
Correct.
of the teams in India or abroad. It all depends on how many students you have. This is like placement of
Got it.
officers, right? So in an engineering college, if you have
Got it.
good students, they'll come. Otherwise, they won't come. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Got it. I'm sure you will need to have your
that's
own
right. We
internal
already
league
have that,
also,
and we have
for
something called as a
people to
badging
participate,
system
and then
also,
probably the
like
winners there
bronze,
would
silver,
probably be
and
the top ones and
yeah,
stuff like that.
bronze,
Really
silver, and
exciting.
gold, right? So it's
Um.
pretty much it'll categorize how good you are. It's also a motivation for people to
Okay.
achieve more. So all of those elements are structured, but at scale, these are all
Got it.
beautiful stories to tell. But unfortunately, we just started off, so these are only in theories. But when you implement this for thousands of kids, students, right? Then you see a lot more value, and even the others also see a lot more value in you. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Great. When you said, you've started
Yeah.
marketing right now, you're just focusing on
So I think
Instagram.
so we identified,
Have
we've
you
done one
targeted
profile
the
of
whole of
who our
India, or
customers
what does the
could be,
demography
potential
look
customer,
like?
right?
Do you see any
One is I
patterns here?
spoke about the age group between 14 to 27. A majority of the guys who have actually put in the money are pretty much
Okay.
85% of the people are in the age bracket of 21
Right.
to 25, because either they're just finishing studying, or they have their first job and they're independent and they want to do all of this because they played some esports in their college and
Yeah.
all.
Correct.
And who are basically following some esports pages on Instagram, and following a
Right.
streamer on Instagram, for example, and who's talking about gaming, and so we identified a profile and who spends at least 7 to 10 hours a week gaming. So these are the
Right.
parameters that we have kind of identified, and we're going after that kind of profiles. It's what I mean. So our
Got it.
what do you call customer acquisition cost is quite high. It's at about it's about $600 to begin with. But to to get the paid user.
Quite high. Okay.
Yeah, to get the to get the user,
To get
it's
one user, the freemium
20,
user itself.
22 or 23 rupees, I think, if
Paid,
I'm not
paid.
wrong.
Okay. Got it.
That's it's No, sorry, it's $80. Sorry, it's $80. Yeah. So the guy who's putting in the money, it's at about
Got it.
600.
Cool.
Okay. But we are charging about $1,000. Net,
Got it. Okay.
we still have to see the marketing campaign has to mature, and we also had to stop in between because things were going
Got
wrong. And then, unfortunately, we were backing ourselves to
Right.
do
Right.
well in PUBG, which is the BGMI equivalent for the India. That also got
Right.
banned the second time. So that was a big setback. Otherwise, we would have probably had, because see, Valorant is a PC game, right? In
Hmm.
India, I mean, it's hardly 2% or 3%
Got
of
it.
the gamers. Majority of them are on mobile gaming, right?
Right.
Exactly. So mobile gaming would have probably worked wonders. But unfortunately, the game that we spent so many
Right.
months
Right. Right.
trying to
Right.
develop and build curriculum and all,
Mobile.
we couldn't
Right.
just take it into the market because of it getting banned. So that was a little bit of a setback, and probably would have had better numbers to showcase till now. That's fine. So now we are rebranding it
Ah.
and selling this
Right.
in the outside market. Uh, so that's the approach. That's right. Correct. So eventually, this is a solution for the global markets, right? It's not specific to India. The reason why we started up India
Outside
is
of
obviously
India,
because
wherever
we are
it
in India,
is
a lot more
possible.
easy to understand, talk to people, and
Got it.
get feedbacks, which won't be too different to any gamer across the world.
It's not
Maybe
specific to
the
India. Yeah.
language that we speak to an American student will be slightly different to what we are speaking for
Yeah.
India, the Indian guys, right? Some challenges are there. So I mean, some
Right.
of our coaches who design the programs are one is from Sweden, another one is from Australia. These are top guys,
Indian. Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
their delivery, there was problems in getting the accent, understanding the accent of these guys, and so we had to get a Hindi speaking
Right.
coach to come and cater to the Indian audience, and all these learnings, right? So and even
Got it.
for example, in someone like me, me and you, right?
Right. Right.
uh, Especially the kids probably will understand Hindi a lot better. Some of the things he's not understanding the language. You're speaking too fast. I can't understand. Talk to me in English. If I talk in English, another guy may struggle to understand. So no, we know we need we're kind of filtering that now. So we ask what's your preferred way of learning, which language do you prefer, English or Hindi. Hopefully at scale regional we need to go, right? Telugu, Tamil, Kannada, etc., etc. We
Right.
might have to do all of that.
Right.
So at scale,
Right.
yes, we'll address those problems, but we know at least what to expect. Now.
Got it, Adarsh. No, it's a very interesting point that you just the conversation directly went into that zone because I have I spoke to one of the guys from Hyderabad, and his name is Vamsi, and then he runs a software development company, and then he was into services, and obviously anybody into services, especially in the software development, they would want to build a product for themselves, and he had a product for himself, but it didn't really take off the way he expected. And then the reason that he kind of brought it down to one particular reason, he said vernacular. In India, if things have to work, you need to not discount or ignore vernacular. And I think in that direction, I think you're pretty much almost you said that you have to eventually go into Tamil, Kannada, Telugu, Malayalam, and North India has got more than Hindi. Hindi is just we assume
Yeah,
Hindi is spoken everywhere,
and
but then
it also
there is
gives
Gujarati, there are so many
absolutely,
languages.
and it also gives
So
that kind
I
of
think
so much comfort,
though that
for
would be
example,
one
right?
thing.
So say for example,
Uh,
if I'm sitting
Probably down the line,
amongst 10
when we
kids,
have another.
and
Yeah.
say my Hindi is not as good as someone else and English is not, it
Yeah.
will not motivate me for me to come back again when you see the other guys having a better conversation than you, right? So you want to ask, but you're not able to ask.
Right.
So we're seeing this differently. We've identified all of these problems. Hopefully we'll find a we'll be able
Right.
to give a solution soon. So
Great.
yeah.
Great, great. And when you said, is there a
No, I
pattern that
think
you see from when
yeah,
you market
majority
it to
is
India? Is there any
okay, not too
concentration
different,
from a
but
particular location, or
Bombay,
is it
Delhi,
evenly
Bangalore,
distributed
Hyderabad, in that
across
order.
India, the kind of people?
Metros, tier one. But the difference between, say, Bombay is our number one in
Okay.
terms of
The metros.
the customers that we have. But Delhi is not too far behind. Probably 2-3% lesser. Bangalore is third again,
Right, right,
which is
right,
again
right.
2-5% lesser than
Got it.
Delhi. Not too different, but tier one. We have seen some
Okay.
traction in tier two also, but very less because it is a PC game. The moment it's mobile game, I think it'll flip around.
Delhi. Okay.
So I think tier two, tier three will see a lot more participants and users
Okay.
compared to tier one. Tier one will get
Right.
obviously, but I think equal numbers we'll see in tier
Got it.
two as well.
Got it, Adarsh. My final segment to address, especially, because it's not that I planned this, but then, you brought up when we were talking about it. I realized, one of the important aspects to you, because from a academic perspective, the technological infrastructure is kind of sorted, and whoever is building, they're building it only for that. Say, for example, I had a conversation with somebody who's running a music academy, and they have their own gaps when it comes to platforms. Say, for example, they're using Edison OS as of now, but then they have certain needs. So, from a technological aspect, a platform aspect, what are the gaps that you already envision? Given that yours, what you teach is different from, it's not text or it's not something else. It's it's purely it's a media heavy thing. So, do you see some gaps
Yeah.
when it
So I
comes to
think
the existing platform that you use? And if yes, what are
one
those
key thing,
gaps?
okay,
What are those
while
things
I'm
that are
sure we'll
being
come
needed
across a
that are
lot,
not there in the
but one key
conventional
thing that
platforms now?
probably where things can improve in our existing platform is the interactivity bit, basically, right? So if you have some tools where you can draw out and show and zoom in and zoom
Right.
out, and
Got it.
play back a little bit, and so everything is video controlled and gets pixelated beyond the point, basically, right? So you know how difficult it is to the content, the delivery of the content will take a hit. And imagine drawing two
Got it.
graphs in on one video,
Right.
saying
Right.
right or wrong, showing it then and there itself, then saying don't do this, do here. So a lot more, so that interactivity element, basically, right? So if that can be
Right.
addressed, the problem is it'll keep changing, the goalposts keep changing, right? So today we might need this for a different game,
Okay.
we probably need a different solution altogether.
Right.
Getting some basic tools to basically draw out and show this is right, that is wrong, all of those elements, if we are able to that's a
Got
basic
it.
thing. It's a very very basic simple thing that I spoke about. So sorry. But eventually, I think the product will keep evolving, right? So
Right.
outstanding
No
LMS
problem.
is definitely needed, especially when you go into the. So I mean, we've seen some of the delivery happen across
Right.
America
Right.
and Europe through not gaming focus, but other tech platforms. I think we're at about not more than 15-20% what they are. I mean, just in terms of the
Right.
experience of a user, and the kind of tools that they implement to make it interactive, and so probably it's
Right.
we'll get there. Like I said, this is just a beginning, and nobody. I mean, basically, see the content.
Hmm.
What we believe is outstanding currently, right? Nobody out of the say 2,000 students who have taken our program, right? I don't think so. Not more than 1% or
Got it.
less than 1% have come and said, you know what, you're teaching
Right.
rubbish. I'm not interested in learning, or you're not adding value to us. Nobody has said that till now. I mean, like I said, probably people would have had some problems in terms of very minuscule, exactly. Just less than 1% people coming and
Okay.
complaining about this be not being.
Very minuscule.
Because
Yeah.
because a lot of these, I'll tell you, one of our one of the reasons why probably we
Got it.
still don't know what the real challenge in terms of the LMS is because we've actually not gone and experimented this in the much more matured market. So because speaking to kids in say India, they
Hmm.
have not seen anything like this. This is a new thing. They are saying, "Wow, this is great," and all. We have had some experience,
Right.
and it's not like we are also well versed with what to expect. But I think once we'll get a lot of learning. But I think interactivity
Correct.
as a key, vertical. If I look at it, if that is
Right.
made possible, that will be a game changer. Basically. That's one of the very very key things that we need to address uh, as soon as possible. I think it all comes down to where I'm learning and how cool my classroom is, right? So when you go to see the schools, right, nobody wants to
Got
see
it, Adarsh. Great.
how good the teacher is, how fancy my school looks. That's more important. Uh,
Yeah.
so that's
Yeah.
similar.
Yeah. 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 Trust me, I mean, this is another very important, very interesting point that you brought in because, I was having a conversation on Saturday with a finance academy based in Hosur. And then, he stressed so much about how much the infrastructure, his goal was to make students stay in the center, which is directly proportional to, a lot of other things. And then he was
Correct.
talking about having a pantry. He was talking about having nice pleasant experience, and I think that probably would translate to the online UI UX. And
Absolutely.
wherever you're spending most time, I think probably you need to focus. That's a
Absolutely.
very good insight for us also, I think, as a company. I'll probably pass it on. I'm sure they're going to be listening to this, so they'll know. But great. I think whatever questions I had, first of all,
Yeah.
to be very honest, in the first 25 minutes, what you spoke, whatever questions I had, basically all those things were really sorted. But after that, it was just, based on whatever you said, and it was like amazing. This is like one of the most,
Because sport. Yeah.
educational
Yeah.
podcasts that I've had. Most of them are, but this is like, I've never been this
Yeah.
excited because
Yeah.
it's like to
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
okay, there is this whole thing. Yeah, I mean, no, this is all, not even sport. Esport is what's like the most exciting thing. And we aren't even at the beginning. It's so futuristic, and I just can't wait to see what this is going to go into. And I'm excited for all the job opportunities that this is going to
Correct.
create, for all the
Absolutely.
gamers out there, who've been like shouted at for the
Absolutely.
last
See,
10
I think
years
a
by their
startup
parents.
like
Hey,
us,
you're doing
right?
some
So can you
useless
imagine?
things.
I
What are you
think
doing? And they'll
the
be in demand very soon.
for
These are the things that
21,
really
22 year
excites
old, and
me.
even was a
So
19,
great.
20-year-old. I think the youngest we have is about 19 or 20. I think he's still in college. Right? He works in the evening, right? I mean,
Great.
someone to get paid 20, 25K at that age. Unheard of. I don't think
Okay.
so. I got paid that much when I got my
Okay.
first job, so to say. Uh, it's massive money. It's probably above the average income. Exactly,
It's
exactly the
huge.
point. It'll always, I
Yeah.
mean, because they're
It's
working
huge,
in,
and they already have
absolutely,
experience when they're
and if
studying.
you're working in a startup, imagine, if it's a,
At that age, yeah,
well-oiled engine,
certainly.
structured, company better than us, who have some monies to spend on. Obviously, I think it's a great way. It's just not for the gamers, right? So the entire ecosystem is getting benefited with this. The content creators, and we are able to get some hidden talent. And so one of the coaches that we have, I mean, if
Yeah,
I'm happy
yeah,
to send some recordings. You need to
yeah,
listen to the way that he basically excites the kids.
yeah.
And he is actually, I mean, he doesn't come from a really
Hmm.
strong financial background, though he might be an Aussie. Okay, but he has his own struggles, and which we know, we've identified,
Wow. Okay.
and now he's able to actually, I mean, like the entire
Okay.
ecosystem is getting benefited. Is what I'm trying to say, basically. Right? So, if yeah,
Right. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Every time there's conversation about, today I think most people are talking about finding some work that is aligned with their passion, right? I think that is the biggest thing. Gone are the days when everybody were behind money and all these things. People are
exactly.
behind money, no doubt. But then, today there's also that little extra
Correct.
focus about how you're making that money, man. I mean, are you enjoying while you're making that money? Because it's a given that you're going to be making money till you're 60, 70. It's not that
Yeah.
you're going to be making money and then then you have some 30 years to do your passion. No, it's not that. You need to figure out a way to mix in your passion also. And I think with that, in that way, I think this is amazing and great. I all the very best. I mean, there's no doubt that this is going to be like huge, and I can't wait to talk to you like 1 year down the line. We'll probably have 6 months down the line maybe and have a part two to this or something. So great, and it was wonderful talking to you. I thought I may not have much to ask and engage and
No,
stuff like that, but
thank you very much for
I'm like
having
really
me
happy
here. I
with
think,
whatever you had
and
to
thanks for all
share,
the
and it was all
support
very new
in
to me.
terms of what you've given
So
us till
thank you
now.
so
So
much,
I hope to,
Adarsh.
we'll continue the work for
It's a
sure,
pleasure.
and
It's a
probably do
pleasure.
better things and much bigger things going ahead. Yeah. Yes,
Thank you, thank
absolutely.
you. I'm going to totally communicate this to the team, and probably there's a lot
Yeah.
to
No, it's just
kind of
that
probably
because I think
work
I'm
on.
talking more,
I'm going to tell about the
specific to
part
one
where you
particular
said
domain,
we
because
are
I
probably
understand
15,
that
twenty
you're
percent of
obviously
what the quality
giving a
people are
generic
offering.
solution.
I think that's something
Maybe
that we'll
what
have to
I am
look at.
asking may not be an apt for another, a tech,
Yeah,
company,
yeah,
so
yeah,
to say, right? So,
yeah,
because
yeah,
the,
yeah.
the thing with gamers, right? They are probably are exposed to the best of the UI and UX that is available in the
Great.
world.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying,
yeah,
right? So, I mean, I probably, if I'm running on, cooking session or whatever, teaching cooking, people like
right,
my
right,
mom, your mom, they
right,
okay,
right.
fine, whatever it is, they'll see. But these guys have access to the probably the best of the experience that Yeah, I mean, those games are world class, and if you're
Right.
a tech company catering, yeah, and you're helping them
Best.
upskill,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
need to be at that level. So that's where it is
Yeah. The
eventually.
graphics that they're
So
exposed to. Right.
yeah,
No, you know why this is so exciting? Because this is an industry that hasn't even
yeah,
started, right? And I'm sure, you pointed out there are only 100
yeah,
academies to
absolutely,
cater to 1.2 billion aspirants
absolutely,
out there. So just imagine the
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
growth
In
and
fact, you'll be
spurt of
surprised.
organizations similar to
Uh,
you.
there is
It looks
now
huge,
something
at
called
least
as
at this
Earn to
point in
Play, and
time.
all of these
But yeah,
have come up, right? So these
definitely
are all
worth
Web3 games.
looking into.
Basically, it's all linked to your blockchain, obviously, and your cryptos, and all of those elements.
Right.
So Philippines, very interesting read. Uh, I'll cross check and I'll tell you before you publish this, but so I think
Hmm,
it
hmm,
can't.
hmm,
This
hmm.
Earn to Play contributed to about 1.2%
Okay.
of the GDP of Philippines. Earn to Play, yeah, or sorry, Play to Earn. I'm saying
Oh
something
my
wrong
God. Okay.
there.
On to
So
play.
Play to Earn.
I will check it out.
Sorry, I
Earn to
was
play.
a
Okay,
little
earn to play.
confused
Okay.
about if it was 1.2 or something. I was thinking that I was
Play to earn.
completely wrong.
Okay, okay,
So
okay.
this contributes
Got it.
1.2% of Philippines GDP. Massive. This is game changing, right? So see, I think things are also changing in esports, right? The
That's
landscape is
huge.
changing so much every day. What
Yeah.
we are prepping for today, you know will be irrelevant 2 3 months down the line. So things are changing, which is a good thing in a way, right? Because when I say changing, it's changing for good.
Right.
It's only getting better. So you need to,
Ah.
exactly, yeah, not going back for sure, absolutely not, right? Also, we also have to be on
Right,
our
right.
toes, and
It's becoming
because the
better.
games
Better.
also keep evolving, right? They'll do small tweakings in
Yeah,
between.
yeah.
They get in a new avatar, for example, new superpowers. So we need to add that to the curriculum. So it's an ongoing, almost every day exercise for us.
Right.
So yeah.
Right. Right. Wow. Yeah. Great, man. I mean, I'm only happy for all the people that are going to be involved in this, because most of them are going to be gamers, and they're not going to just come for, oh, I have a job, day job, I need to go work, finish 8 hours.
Absolutely.
This is one. As even as an
Sure.
employer, you're going to have
Absolutely.
happy employees. So there's so much to this, just apart from the business model. And I wish to cover a lot of topics with you down the line. I'm going to go do a lot of other research myself from the interaction that I've had with you, and probably come back with you with more questions. But overall,
Thank
it
you.
was an
Thank you, Shimon.
amazing session with you. One of the most
No,
unique
absolutely. Loved it.
sessions that
Thank
I've
you very
had.
much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking
All
your
right.
time out.
Bye.